On the filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot about wanting to eliminate the filibuster. It hasn't happened. Are you disappointed in Leader?
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed. I like John a lot, but he has a couple of Republicans that are foolish people. A couple of them I like, a couple of them I can't stand, actually, if you want to know the truth. Although I am, according to CNN, 100% approval within the Republican Party. That's better than your record, Gary. I'm at 100% approval. Did you see the CNN poll? Nobody talks about it. CNN, I think the people that did that poll probably got fired. But within the Republican Party in MAGA, which is basically 100% of the party, I think, but 100%. No, I think that you're going to see some very interesting things. The filibuster, if you had it, we should have the Save America Act. We should have voter identification, voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. We should have mail-in voting for the military and people that need it, but not for everybody. Because anytime you have mail-in voting, they're going to cheat. And they cheat like dogs. And they have to cheat. In all fairness to the Democrats, when you have men and women sports, when you have open borders, when you have transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids, of your children, transgender mutilization of your children for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
I usually have much longer intros, but I just want to let you guys know. I had put up the picture that there were two press conferences I was going to show you. Marco Rubio will be live at 3 p.m. And then earlier this morning at 8 a.m., we had Pete Hegseth and General Raising Cane. And then I did know that President Trump was going to do an expanded event, which I have for you. And I put up a poll to see what you guys have seen. And overwhelmingly, most of you haven't seen either of the two events, in terms of some people saw Hegseth but didn't see Trump. But I plan these shows. I try to put together what we're going to do, and it gets blown out the water because of what goes on inside the White House and what goes on in the orbit of the White House. So with that being said, we are going to be here for quite some time. From what I understand, no, let me tell you what I know. I've got President Trump's proclamation / press conference. I have Pete Hegseth press conference. Then at 3 o'clock, we have Marco Rubio's press conference. And then, from what I understand, J.D. Vance is supposed to do a speech or press conference at 4 o'clock. So settle in, get yourself some drinks, put your footstools up. This might be one of those days where we're here for quite some time. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It won't be a lot of me. I won't there might be a couple times where I interrupt President Trump, but for the most part, there's some things I want to talk about with Pete Hegseth, but I had to push everything I had planned off of the table so we could do this. So let me bring in SV, because you probably won't see him much either. SV, what's going on?
Man, just another normal day, Barry. I love it. Nothing's different.
I look at other shows and I think to myself, I could ramble and show tweets, or I can just sit back and let people pay their cost of admission. They came to see me, but you're going to see everybody today. I mean, Trump, Hegseth, Rubio, Vance. That is a stack. That's like going to a festival, a concert festival, and seeing them all at the same time. The Monsters of Rock tour.
It's like me going to a poker tournament and I can see all the top players and I'm taking their money. I see prosperity, man. Prosperity.
Yeah, so it's so funny because, and I don't have much time because it's 2:04 right now. President Trump's, let me just tell you what he did. And I had to cut it because it was so long. He talks for about an hour. And then SV, he goes out into the yard and plays with the kids, shows them
I
how to
saw
do,
that. Yeah.
shows them how to
Yeah.
do
He was doing
the.
a dance.
And so, I mean, and you saw the intro there when they start. That was Reagan Reese, and she was asking him a question, and he could tell it's bothering him, and he's like, "Yeah, the mutilation of." Hey, I'm sorry about kids. He tells the kid, "It's okay, we'll chill." I'm like, but man. And I didn't know. I had to go look it up. I don't know if you knew this because you're very active with pickleball and stuff. And back in the day, I was an active kid.
Yeah.
I didn't win the presidential fitness thing because I couldn't climb the damn rope. But other than that,
Oh, I love climbing that rope. Oh yeah.
man, that took.
Yeah.
I used
Oh
to
yeah,
see.
it takes a lot of it's not just strength, it's just agility and being able to, scramble up. And you feel it in your body when you come down. You feel it in your shoulders and your arms.
Yeah.
I just did it down in Virginia Beach last year. They had a rope down on some of the little monkey bars, and I said, "Let me see if I can still do it." And I went up it. It was not as easy, but I did it. It was fun.
We
Yeah.
had a girl when I was in school, and she amazed us because we're like, "Okay, yeah, you're just a chick." And oh man, she scooted up that thing.
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, wow!"
Like a squirrel, right?
You had to salute. And then I had to look up this morning. I said, "Why are we quote bringing it back? Why did it go away? Why did?" And I had to look it
Yeah.
up and find out that it was Obama who stopped making it relevant. He stopped the Presidential Fitness Award. And I thought to myself, why in the hell would Democrats ever have a problem with people being physically fit? Why would they have a problem with kids being taught physical fitness? And I had to sit
I
back
think
and think, go ahead.
I think it might have had something to do with, the participation medals. No one had to earn anything anymore. They want to give everybody a prize. So people became complacent. There was no real reason to try to excel, right? You think maybe something like that?
I think it's more sinister. Me personally, having seen where the Obama mindset has led these Democrats, I wonder if they said, "Let's not promote fitness because fitness is racist. Yeah, we don't want any fit kids. We want them eating Cheetos and drinking Kool-Aid and eating Snickers bars and Debbie donuts and all kinds of stuff. And they'll get fat. And if they get fat, they get dependent upon the government."
Yeah, well, that I believe it's 100%. That definitely happened. Our country is, you look at the pictures. Well, Trump put something on True Social about a week or so ago about what it looked like in the 50s, like in New York City versus today. I mean, look, I know there's a lot of people overweight. We're not all in great shape, but I mean, we were in better shape back in the 50s and 60s. We've all, I don't know what, we need to make America healthy again. That's what I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Starting with the kids, promote it with the kids so that way they grow up, eating better.
Yeah, if everything else is a learned activity, then eating and exercise is a learned activity as well. I mean, there was a video going around, I showed it, where it showed life in the the 70s and 80s and how we all got out of the house, we're riding our bikes, and we wouldn't come home till the street lights come on. And now you got kids who do this all day long.
Yeah,
and
doom
do
scrolling.
nothing. And they sit
and
there
they
and
get
play.
depressed, and they're all depressed, and they turn into drugs, and it's a vicious cycle. So start with the food, making what Kennedy's doing, trying to make the food better, getting all the crap out of it. I mean, I changed. I don't know if you knew this. I changed my diet last year because my blood pressure was up, right? And I had a little high cholesterol. I went into my freezer, threw out everything in my freezer. I'm now eating more vegetables and fruits and stuff. And I had my blood taken about a month ago, and everything's back to normal. My blood pressure is back to normal.
Awesome.
Yeah. So you and the thing is, you got to do it yourself. The government's not going to do it for you. You got to do it yourself.
I'm telling you, doing this show has forced me to make so many changes because I sit here for so long and having to talk. There's not much you can do about your vocal cords, but your body, if you don't get up and get down, you guys don't know, but when the camera's off, I'll get up and I'll walk around real quick and come back and and I started going back to the gym and the supplements I take. Like I said, a lot of the supplements that you see me partner with here is stuff that I actually take myself because I'm like, I need the energy. I need to be up. I need to be
Yeah.
going on this thing. I can't. You can't be
Don't do
like
that.
that. No. So I have to do. And
I don't
it's
know. I
funny.
don't know how you do it, Barry. You definitely have a lot of energy to speak for 3 hours. I mean, I thought I talked a lot, but I don't know how you do it.
You know what's funny?
Amazing.
I was talking to, it was either Ashley, she's back now, and she's like, how's it going with SV? And I said, it's going very well. People actually like him. He's getting fan mail. He's getting hate mail. You're getting
Oh
both
yeah,
sides
I
of the
love the
aisle.
hate mail.
And it's
Fuel.
funny because as people begin to do something like this, they realize it ain't easy. We make it look
That is
easy,
true.
but it ain't like the old Dire Straits song, "Money for Nothing." Nope, no. And he definitely ain't getting no chicks for free. Robin's
I ain't
expensive.
getting no chicks for free.
All right, so
All right, listen. I had one little news story that just came in that related to DC. So and then
Okay,
I'll let you
go
go,
ahead.
I guess, if that's okay. So it just came in. Top Washington DC police officials are reportedly about to be fired after caught faking the crime data. President Trump recently said crooked DC swamp creatures cooked the books to make Blue City crime seem lower than it was. So they're looking into that, and they're expecting some firings. I think they need to start with that DEI chief, right? Remember, she was part of that.
She's gone. She's already gone.
Oh, she left? Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought she was
She's
still
out of
there.
Yeah, she couldn't take
Okay,
it.
well,
She's
that's
gone.
good.
I'm pretty sure you guys can check, but I think she's
Okay.
already gone. But I think
Yeah.
we're exposing so much stuff, and I sat back and I realized yesterday. I can tell the way the Democrats are acting like right now is they know their goose is cooked. And every single one of them, all they can say is fight, and they're protesting, and that's all they have. There's nothing else. And I'm gonna
Maximum warfare everywhere, all the time.
but see what they didn't
Yeah.
count on was people having maximum warfare against them. And
Absolutely.
now
Yeah.
I'll go over that. I'll probably, if depending
Okay.
on how long it takes us tonight. I mean, I've got so much in the can to do a show tonight. If we have, hopefully we're not here till 6 tonight. But if we're out in a reasonable hour, then I will do a show tonight. So, great.
Okay.
Let me jump into this,
All
and
right.
then
I'll see you soon, Barry.
Okay, great. I'm going to jump into this right now, which is President Trump's event. President Trump's event goes for 57 minutes and 56 seconds. So let's hope that Marco's a little bit late. But if Marco's on time, obviously I got to jump to the live, or I could probably hold it, pause the video until we're finished with Trump. But we're going to be tight. So I want to just jump into it and get going with it. Today's sponsor of today's show, just like many times, is Brightcore's Kimchi One. Did you know that U.S. life expectancy peaked at 78 years in 2014, and global life expectancy is declining for the first time in 30 years because people are aging faster than ever before? This is due to more toxins in the air, chemicals in our soil and food, and other external factors that are new to us. What most people don't know is that we can actually fight aging on a cellular level. Doing it myself. Actually, there was a study that came out that showed we can indeed do that. Scientists discovered that kimchi actually slows the aging process of human cells, helping protect them and delay aging at the cellular level. The power of nature can definitely outweigh the power of pharmaceuticals without the nasty side effects. And now you can get all of these benefits of kimchi in a single capsule with Kimchi One. Each capsule delivers over 900 probiotic strains, plus antioxidants and enzymes that support your digestion, your metabolism, your skin health, all from the inside out. And as we age, we become more susceptible to microbial threats. Kimchi One is a natural antimicrobial, helping your body fight off harmful bacteria, viruses, and even toxins while boosting your immunity and energy levels. Best of all, Kimchi One is 100% made in USA, all natural and non-GMO. So support your gut, protect your cells, and feel younger every day with Kimchi 1 from Brightcore. And right now, if you'd like to look at getting some Brightcore's Kimchi 1, you can as well. You can get an exclusive offer by clicking the link in the description below and just use the code BARRY for 25% off. Your entire order is 25% off. Or for an even better deal, call them. Call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off. And if you do that, you also get free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's done an incredible job. Scott Turner, that everybody knows, and a legend, Linda McMahon, head of education in our country, and she's doing a fantastic job. They all are. We're also pleased to be joined by respected sports leaders and members of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. We really have some incredible people. It's like a who's who. Bryson, how many do we have on the council total?
Oh, it's got to be upwards of 30, actually.
Yeah, a lot, and all top.
Yes, sir.
If they weren't really good, we don't allow them. You're going to be really good. Like Gary Player, as an example, he won 168 tournaments over a very average career. You know, that. Think of it. He won 168 tournaments, 18 majors, 9 and 9 senior. He has more championships than anybody, national championships than anybody. And I played with him. He's very proud of it, actually. He played with him on his 90th birthday. He very easily, on a tough course, from 6,800 yards, he very easily shot a 70. And it was the easiest 70. And normally, if you shoot a 70 and you're 90, you'd run around so excited. Gary's like, all right, let's have a little lunch. Because he was the most unexcited human being I've ever seen. Because he's been doing it all his life. He's been winning the top 3 in history, in my opinion. I don't think it's my opinion. Just based on the record, Gary is top 3. Jack and Tiger and Gary, greatest golfers. So thanks for being here. And as you know, we have the U.S. Open champion. and he won 2 U.S. Opens, but that last one was unbelievable. He hit I think Gary's one of the greatest shots ever hit to win a U.S. Open, certainly. One of the top, they say one of the top 3. I don't know what the other 2 are. But he hit an unbelievable sand shot, sank a 4.5-foot putt, and he won the U.S. Open, and he's been a great golfer from the day he was born, if you believe in genetics, because I do. But he won, he won the U.S. Amateur years ago, and he won it quite easily. But he's a great person and a great friend of mine, Bryson DeChambeau. And thank you, Bryson. And you're very much in charge of this whole operation with the sports. He's so much into physical fitness. All you have to do is take a look at him. And you say, why is he even doing this? Because I think if you didn't work out at all, you'd still look almost like you do right now. But you are doing great. And everybody respects Bryson. He's the longest hitter in golf. And he's straight. And frankly, maybe the best part of his game, Gary, is he's a great putter.
Absolutely.
You played with him, right?
And an asset to the game.
And he's a great asset, and he's a great person. And we have, along with the University of Florida's basketball coach, Todd Golden. Todd, where's Todd?
Right here.
Todd, hi, Todd.
Great to see you, brother.
And what a job, by the way, what a job you've done. I see that. I'm a little busy to watch the games, but I always see your team is right up there.
Yeah.
You did a fantastic job as a young guy. An American hockey hero, T.J. Oshie, who's one of the best hockey players in the world. T.J., it's good to be.
Thanks for having me.
How's your golf game? The hockey players, Bryson was saying, the hockey players seem to be the best of the athletes, seem to be the best golfers. You know?
It's the greatest game.
Yeah, that's great.
Fun to play.
And he's a good golfer. He's a 3 handicap, maybe better, right? That's very good.
Gotta work on the
But stick,
right, Gary?
right?
Yeah.
But stick to hockey.
Yeah.
Right. As a 3, he has to stick to hockey. That's great. What a career you've had too at a young age, and professional baseball pitcher Noah Syndergaard, sometimes referred to as Thor, and he looks like Thor to me. That's where is he? It's very hard to make. They look great. That is a man, I wouldn't want to get into a fight with him, I can tell you. That would not be a good situation. This year we celebrate 250th anniversary of our country, and it's our nation's founding. It's a big deal. In addition, we have the World Cup, which is just now started. And we have the Olympics. I got them both, and I was very proud of myself. I tried to say I got the 250th also, but that didn't work out too well. But I did get both the World Cup, and I got the Olympics, and I was very proud of that. But I was very sad, actually, because I got them in my first term, and I said, oh, wow, I'm not going to be able to go as president because they were in 6 years. So I wouldn't be president. I thought I'd easily win the election, which, by the way, I did. And unfortunately, bad things happened. It was a rigged election. And I said, well, I'll do it again. I had the ultimate poll. I did so well. And I had the ultimate poll, and we won in a landslide. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything you can win. We won 87% of the counties in the United States. And I ended up with the Olympics, and I ended up with the World Cup. And very importantly, maybe the most important, is we have the 250th anniversary. And on June 14th, we're going to have the UFC, and the biggest fight they've ever done by far. It's the hardest ticket I've ever been involved with. And they're building a 5,000-seat stadium right by the front door of the White House. And then they're going to have anywhere from 75 to 100,000 people on the park right past the White House with 8 tremendous screens. And then we have Roger Penske, so that's Dana White's dream, what that is. It's going to be amazing. And then we have Roger Penske is going to have a big championship Indy around the Capitol, and the Indy racers, and he's been trying to get it here for 25 years, and he said, I came to Washington exactly 121 times, and I was never able to get it. I came once to see you, and we had it done in a half an hour. And he's fantastic. He's won 20 Indianapolis 500s. Can you believe that? Other, countries, and I say it all the time, I gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, like I gave to Gary, too, because of his career. And then Roger, on his 18th, I called him, I said, come on, I want to give you the president. You won 18. Japan, Germany, all these countries, they spend billions and billions of dollars, and they don't, it's very hard for them to win. They don't win very, very much. They spend all that money, and Roger just wins it all the time. So I gave it to him on the 18th win, and since then he's won, that was 4 years ago, since then he's won 2 more. So he's going to be here with the Indy cars, and it's going to be their biggest race maybe ever. And they're going to be circling the Capitol. We have Pennsylvania Avenue closed down, and I said, do you like the course? He said, I love the course. I said, pick the best course, we'll get it for you. Don't go the easy way. Pick the best roads. I don't care, it doesn't matter. And he picked he said it's as good as you can get. And unfortunately, he picked the most important roads in the city, which is a little tougher. But we got it done for him quickly, and that's going to be in August. So we have a lot of really exciting things happening. So today I signed a proclamation recognizing National Youth Sports and Fitness, and I'll also sign the very first copy of the new Revitalized Presidential Fitness Test Award, a certificate in recognition of achievement of the gold standard of physical fitness. And this is something that Bryson DeChambeau wanted to do very badly. Bryson's amazing. I mean, he's somebody that can put on 25, 30. At one point, I guess he put on almost 50 pounds. You remember, he looked like a linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he decided he didn't like himself at that weight. It was all muscle guy. It was like crazy. He looked like a massive football player. You wouldn't want to play him in hockey. And he said he didn't like it. He developed too much speed. This is the problem with people. He had too much speed. He wanted to bring it down a little bit. So he lost. He can put on weight like up and down like a yo-yo. And he doesn't take the shot, okay? He doesn't need the fat shot. I said, do you ever take this shot? He didn't even know what the hell I was talking about. What shot? No, he can put it on. He's a scientist. He's like a scientist with his body. He's a great guy, and he's an absolute champion, so I appreciate it. But Bryson really wanted to bring it back, because we are bringing it back. It's something that's a lot of people, the wrong people probably were involved, I don't know. But this is a group of people that physical fitness is everything. Gary Player, by the way, you talk about golf, but he was always considered in the best shape of anybody. He was long ahead of the rest of the world. Now you see all these guys have a 28-inch waist. They walk down, it's like robots, right? But Gary was always, he was way ahead of everybody else. From the late 1950s until 2013, grade schoolers across the country competed against each other in the presidential fitness test, but others. And then we had the Obama administration. Wonderful, wonderful person. Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? We had the Obama administration, which phased out this wonderful tradition of physical fitness. Thank you, Barack, very much. Great job. And we're bringing it back. We're bringing it back. My administration's working very hard to defend America's cherished athletic traditions and pass our values of excellence and competitiveness to the next generation. So important. We're working on historic reforms to save college sports, and we banned men from competing in women's sports. That was sort of an easy one. They say, you know, the radical left says, that's an 80-20 issue. No, it's 99-1. They say 80-20. Who are the 20%? I've never met anybody. Nobody's ever come up. So I've been president for 5 years, and nobody's ever come up to me and say, sir, you have to allow men to play in women's sports, you know. I've never had one person say it's really important that we allow women to be challenged by men in women's sports, and it doesn't work. So we did that, and with the help of Secretary Kennedy, who's with us, we're striving constantly to make America healthy again, and that's what we're doing. We have unbelievable numbers coming. Bobby will mention it. We have unbelievable numbers coming. So these next few years will be a golden age for American sports, just like it's a golden age for America. You know, we hit an all-time high stock market today, despite that we're in a little skirmish, military. I call it a skirmish because Iran has no chance. They never did. They know it. They express it to me when I talk to them. Then they get on television. They say how well they're doing. And they have no Navy, totally wiped out. They have no Air Force, totally wiped out. They have no anti-aircraft capability, totally wiped out. No radar. They have no leaders. The leaders are wiped out, the whole thing. And then I read the papers and they say how well they're doing. They're not doing well. That's why you have no credibility. No credibility. The news, the fake news, has no credibility. But the President's Cup, it's going to be something, and we're going to have that. We're going to do very special presentations to Johnny, who, as you know, is the commissioner. He's a fantastic person who runs the soccer. And I don't know if you know this, but so more tickets have been sold earlier than at any World Cup they've ever had. And the numbers are more than double. They've never seen anything like it. So it's really soccer. I don't know if soccer is taken off or not taken off, but the World Cup is doing numbers like they've never done. They've never done anywhere close. And we have the Patriot Games in honor of our 250th anniversary this fall. It's going to be all on television. And with that, it's like the ones that we have here. We're going to continue to win. Our country is doing great. We're breaking records in every way, and I know it's too bad, but I had to do it. We can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You might be too young for this. I don't know what they probably know. They probably know better than most people. But you can't let a bunch of lunatics have a nuclear weapon, or the world would be in trouble. The world would be in trouble. So we just hit records on the Dow. It was supposed to be done in 5 or 6 years. Somebody said it couldn't be possible to reach 50 on the Dow, and I reached 50 in the first year. And then I reached 7,000, and by the way, just set a new record. The S&P just set a new record, set much higher, 7,500. But they said even harder than 50 on the Dow is getting to 7,000 on the S&P. We did that by the end of the first year, all before the end of the first year. Gary, so think of that. They said we couldn't do it in 4 years, and we did it at the end of the first year. And then, you ever have this? And then I called all my people, and I said, we just set every record in the book. The economy is going great. I ended 8 wars. Nobody else ever ended a war. And the person that won the Nobel Prize, Maria, she's a good person, she said, I don't deserve this. This deserves to President Trump. There's never been a man that deserves a Nobel Prize. He ended 8 wars, including India, Pakistan, which would have been a nuclear war, 8 of them. And I called everybody in, Gary, and I said, you know what? We just broke every record, and now we're going to take a hit because we have to make a journey down to Iran to take the nuclear weapon. They would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks. Remember, we sent that beautiful B-2 bomber in, and we blew up their nuclear potential. It was obliterated, for those that are not aware, and to a point where it would take them weeks to dig down, and we wouldn't let them dig down. We have our eyes on it all the time. But it was a very important thing. So we would have had an Iran with a nuclear weapon, and maybe we wouldn't all be here right now. I can tell you the Middle East would have been gone, Israel would have been gone, and they would have trained their sights on Europe first and then us, because they're sick people. These are sick people. And we're not going to let lunatics have a nuclear weapon. The power of a nuclear weapon is something I don't even want to talk about. It's not going to happen. And we have beaten them badly. They're talking, now they're reduced to little boats with a machine gun on the front of them, because they had a Navy of 159 ships. Every single ship in the first week was, right, Pete? Every single ship they had is resting underwater, right? At the bottom of the sea. They have no Navy. It's totally wiped out. Same thing with their Air Force. So we're doing well. But it's all about, having a great country. And one of the things I think that when they talk about physical fitness, one of the things I notice about friends of mine, all of the people, all of the great athletes here, is their mind is better than people that aren't fit. It's because I think a mind, once you hit a ball well, or you do whatever it is that you run well, or play hockey as great as you play it. But once you obviously have to have a certain physicality. You can't have somebody with a great mind and zero athletic talent, right? But when you get up to that league, it's all about the mind. The mind is so important. And these people express it, I think, better than anybody. So with that, I'd like to ask somebody that's done really an incredible job. He has got some group of people that love him, some big group of people. It was a big day when he endorsed me for president. Very unusual, because I happen to be a Republican. I would say that Republicans were not too big in the Kennedy family, but they're big now because he's the biggest in the group, and everybody respects him a lot. He's doing a fantastic job. So, Bobby, would you say a few words, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Almost immediately after my uncle was elected in 1960, he came across some federal data that showed that 5% of American kids were obese. And that was more than double the European number. And he became very concerned that Americans were becoming soft. And he published an article before his inauguration called The Soft American, in which he said that there's a national security issue. It threatens our economy. We need a vigorous population that is in good shape spiritually, morally, physically, if we're going to continue to exercise leadership around the world. And he launched the physical fitness test, which became a milestone for my generation, for several generations after me. It was an enduring rite of passage for us that everybody in my generation remembers. It was a benchmark also because we did pull-ups, sit-ups, shuttle runs, and a number of other events, and it was a benchmark for measuring national physical fitness. Around that time, my uncle came across correspondence between Teddy Roosevelt and the head of the commandant of his Marine Corps. And Teddy Roosevelt asked him, what are the metrics? What are the physical requirements for a Marine? And Roosevelt, or the commandant, wrote him back saying that a Marine had to walk 50 miles in a single day with a 30-pound pack. My uncle wrote a letter to his commandant and said, can today's Marines do the same thing? The following day, he had a cabinet meeting. It was on a Friday, and he had private cabinet meetings, unlike the ones that we have to go through here. I said, my uncle was, I'll just say this, my uncle was proud. He was the first president that did televised press conferences. And he was very proud. He did more press conferences than any president in history. He did 64 in his 1,000 days in office. This president does that every 2 months. He does a press conference every day, and our cabinet meetings, for better or for worse, are also televised. But it's the most transparent administration that we've ever seen, the most successful administration in history. And he went into that cabinet meeting, that private cabinet meeting that morning, and he said to the cabinet, one of you has to do a 50-mile hike this weekend to show the American people that we're in shape. And this cabinet could have done it. I mean, we have a bunch of thoroughbreds in this cabinet. Pete and Scott and Sean Duffy and Linda and Tulsi and Doug Burgum and Jameson and all the rest. There's a lot of people who could probably do a 50-mile hike.
What about me? You didn't mention mine.
This guy walks 9 miles a day on a golf course every weekend, so he could do it in the breeze.
When I'm not using a car. Go ahead.
My father was the only one who could do it. And he went into the Justice Department that night, and he had a bunch of guys in the Justice Department who were former Marines who had gone to Harvard on the GI Bill and played on the same football team, and he hired them all when he came into the Justice Department. And he said, you guys are going on a 50-mile hike with me tomorrow. And they got up at 4 a.m. and they started on the C&O Canal towpath, which was frozen. It was the middle of winter. And they were going to walk to Camp David. One by one, they each dropped out. My father was the only one who made it. The last guy to drop out was his best friend, whose name was Dave Hackett. And Dave Hackett's legs had swollen up, and he said, I got to quit. And my father said, you're lucky your brother's not the president of the United States, because the press was following, and there was no way that my father could quit. And I was at Camp David that night and watched him come in, and his feet were bleeding. They were covered with blisters. But it was part of the message that President Kennedy wanted to send the American people, that if we were going to maintain our national authority, our international leadership, our moral authority as a nation, that we had to pay attention to our physical condition. And the physical fitness test was a critical part of that. And I think it's very unfortunate that President Obama and President Biden abandoned it. They said competition is not good for kids, which is not true. if we're going to be competitive internationally, we need to be competitive with each other. We need to teach people how to win and how to lose and how to process victory and defeat. And today, since that time, the presidency has presided over the worst public health crisis in history. We're now the sickest nation in the world. We've gone from 5% of our kids being obese to 20%. 70% of adults are obese or overweight, and 77% of our children cannot qualify for military service. And that should be an eye-opener for all of us. And I'm so grateful to President Trump for his leadership and his vision of reinstituting the physical fitness test and challenging Americans to compete with each other in a friendly, congenial way, and to help each other get in shape so that we can prepare for a great future that this administration is going to provide for this country.
Can you even imagine that Obama believed that competition was bad for children? This is the same guy who loved hanging out with LeBron and all the NBA players who, compete for a living, but he didn't want kids to be competitive because they didn't want kids to have that drive. And like I was telling SV, I also think it was if these kids get sick, they become dependent on the government. Now, the problem with that is that we have an entire generation of kids right now. As you can see, it is coming to fruition. They don't have any idea about real competition. They don't have any sort of inner, drive to become better. Otherwise, they wouldn't be pushing socialism and communism. They'd want to aspire. So in essence, Obama's plan worked. Now it's we got to clean it up.
Oh, it was great. I didn't know that. Bobby, do you ever see a picture of Bobby working out? It's like, you guys, I said, you got to be kidding me. He's in great shape. I didn't know that about your father. That's very impressive, huh? Did he work out a lot, Bobby? He was a great guy.
He was an athlete, and he was always in good shape, and he played sports every weekend.
Was he, your uncle was a great athlete too, was he? A very good athlete?
My father was the only one of the brothers that lettered in football. Oh. Jack was a swimmer, which allowed him to save his crewmates when his ship went down off the Solomon Islands. So he was able to swim, drag one of his shipmates to shore because he'd been on the swim team.
It's a great story. Very interesting. Bobby, that was very good. It's quite interesting. Everybody was listening. Usually people are sort of wandering off as people speak, but not when Bryson speaks or Garrett speaks. Why don't you start it?
Yeah, Secretary Kennedy, thank you for those inspiring words from your uncle, and thank you to the President of the United States for helping reestablish this presidential fitness test. It's been something that we've been looking forward to doing for a long time, since 2013. I remember going through the presidential fitness test as a kid and getting that award, and it was quite an honor. So being up here and a part of that is quite instrumental and going to be amazing for our nation's future. Reestablishing the golden standard of the presidential fitness test has been a huge deal for me. Is that these kids now are going to have a healthy future. That's really an important thing for us to note here, is that, we want to make sure our kids have the best opportunity to succeed in life, and not only from their mind, but their health and their well-being. Their physical fitness is a huge priority to helping them become better human beings in general for our nation. And so what's quite honestly cool is Secretary Hegseth here has allowed us to be involved in over 160 schools, military bases with DOIA, and institutionalizing this presidential fitness test in those schools. So I have to say thank you so much for helping establish that, and hopefully here soon we can do that across the nation, of which we believe will have a tremendous effect on these kids and their future. So I just wanted to say thank you to the President, thank you to the Cabinet members for everything you've done, and we're going to go out there and have a great day on the field and give these kids some fun things to go and play with, whether it's football, soccer, doing some pull-ups. Can you guys do pull-ups? You guys, no? We'll help you. We'll help you. But that's a part of the presidential fitness test, is aspiring to help these kids become a better version of themselves. And that's what I couldn't be more excited to be a part of. I want to say thank you to the athletes that are here today and to Gary Player. He's always been an inspiration to me, and albeit I'll never get to your record, I thank you for giving me aspirations to hopefully get 1/8 of what you have. So thank you. And lastly, just want to say to the kids, most important thing you can do is always get 1% better a day. That's the most important thing I can give you guys. Try to be a better version of yourself every day, because one day you could be up here as well. You could be up here as well. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for everybody for being here, and I can't wait to see what we can do out there today.
Good. Thank you, Bryson. And this is really for Bryson, because he's worked so hard on this. He really put it together. He's got the best athletes in the world. I think it's actually 41 or 42. And all top people, all big names, top people, and they all want to do it. And Bryson, I was given a little idea by Bobby. He mentioned Camp David, and it's a special place. And I think we should have our next meeting, the full meeting at Camp David. Okay?
Sounds great.
So it's like a very special place.
Amazing.
So we'll do that. I'd love to have Gary say a few words. He's won 168 tournaments. Think of it. That means he won every weekend. I say, well, when did you not win? It's a record, I think, that will never be broken. And he won 18 majors, 9 senior and 9 regular, and many other things. And he is a very special guy. And, you know, if you think about the power of positive thinking, I don't know if Gary has the time, but he is the youngest winner of the British Open, what they call now the Open Championship. And he won it when he was 23, I think, Gary, right? 23. Yeah. If you want, you could tell that story, because these are all people that love sports and they love golf. But the way you asked, you'd like to practice. My name's Gary Player. I'm from South Africa. You're not giving me the time to practice. I must practice on this course. And the people thought, who is this? He said, you don't understand. I'm going to win this tournament. They never heard of him. He came out of South Africa. He was winning everything. He won the South African Open like 14 times or something. It's incredible. But if you want to tell that story, I think it's a fabulous story. But as a man with a powerful, it's really the power of positive thinking. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, Mr. President, first of all, thank you very much for having us and hosting this today. I've been around almost every president for the last 65 years. And I've never seen a president that loves this country as much. They all did, and they all did great works. But I've never seen a president that loves the country as much as you do. And I say thank you, because I've traveled more miles than any human being before without being repetitive. And I've never seen a country like this. The freedom that exists, which is so important to all of us. And you know, sport can change the world. It can give people a chance that don't have any hope. It can give them hope, as we've seen. Many people with little education have become world champions. Only in America have you got that opportunity. And the other thing is, to Mr. Kennedy, who I have absolute utmost respect for, you know, my great dream now, I'm finished with tournament golf, my great dream is for the youth of America. The youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity. These are the people that are going to be the future champions. And when I talk, I always talk about the importance of fitness. It's so important. Please, can we bring it back in the schools? And as Senator Kennedy has so aptly said, to eat properly. This is so important, what you put in your body. And the big thing that I wish, and I pray every day, and wherever I talk, and I do a lot of talking, I say to the young people, just love this country, because you don't realize what's going on around the world. Even the students of the great universities of America really don't understand what's happening around the world today. There is a silent war taking place against America today. And what we've got to do is make these kids realize that freedom and exercise and education, start reading some books. Yes, keep your phone, but also read some good books. And listen to what Mr. Kennedy has said. What you put in your body is so important. What a wonderful job he's done, and all your cabinet members, of which I say thank you for maintaining this great word, this cherished word, freedom.
Thank you very much, Gary. And Gary was way ahead of his time, always. And How many Masters did you play in, Gary? It's a record, I think.
52.
52. Think of it, 52. And most of them you had to qualify. After you won it, how many times did you win it?
3.
3. So when you win it 3, you get to play a little bit. But most of the time you had to qualify. But 52 Masters, it's amazing. And did well in every single one of them. Pete, could I ask you to say a few words?
Sure. Yes, sir.
You could maybe speak a little bit about the subject that they want to hear about also if you want. But just say a few words if you want.
Absolutely, sir. Well, fitness, standards, competition, that's what we're all about at the War Department. So bringing those things to education is something I remember as a kid. I mean, the Presidential Physical Fitness Award was the pinnacle event at Forest Lake Elementary School every year, and I wanted to be the best. And I wasn't, but I worked my tail off every year to try to get there. Pull-ups, push-ups. I couldn't do the V-sit and reach. I could never beat that one. But I remember it because it was something my country clearly elevated as important. We should be in shape. We should compete. And there's winners and there's losers. That we need to infuse into our young people. And obviously it takes young people to run a military. And as the Secretary pointed out, almost 3/4 of American young people do not qualify for military service, and a lot of that has to do with their physical fitness. So we're proud at the War Department to put this first into Department of War education activity. Our schools, 161 of them, across 30 installations. It's going to be mandatory for the young kids of those service members who use those schools. And we hope that's a pilot for all of American education. We hope the rest of America follows. We need young, strong, healthy Americans, whether you serve in the military or any other aspect of your life. And I think this presidential fitness test, Mr. President, is a perfect thing to restore that sets those standards high for young people and something for them to achieve. The idea that competition is bad is the beginning of decline of a nation. Competition is critical to who we are and ensuring America stays on top. And speaking of staying on top, Mr. President, we are, as we talked about this morning, Project Freedom is ongoing. We're ensuring that we have control of that strait, which we do. And ultimately, Iran has a choice to make, and they know we're in the strong position. We hope they make a wise choice, and nobody better to make that deal, Mr. President, than you.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Doing a great job. A man who's in you talk about athletes. This is a very serious athlete, happens to be in charge of a little thing called housing.
Yes, sir.
Say a few words, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you to all the great athletes and ambassadors that are here and to the kids that are here. You know, that word competition, I made a living competing, and being in the top physical fitness that I could be and playing in the National Football League. And one thing I want to remind the kids and really our country is competition brings out the best in us, be it in sport, be it in business, be it in education. And you always want to be the best you can be, as Bryson said, every single day getting better. And I'm grateful that I had an opportunity to play in the National Football League, but it taught me how to be a good teammate. It taught me how to be humble in victory and to be steadfast, in defeat, as all these great athletes know. And Mr. President, thank you for just your leadership in our country, but also for this important issue of having physically healthy children and a physically healthy nation. And Bobby, thank you for reminding us of your uncle and your father, of how important it is for us to look at the man holistically, spiritually, morally, physically, mentally. And I think America historically has been the leader in all of those areas, but we are at a critical function in our nation. And so I would encourage everyone, this transcends politics. Physical fitness is good for every man and woman and child in the United States of America. So, Mr. President, I'm committed to this. I've seen the benefits of it in my own personal life. My family and my cabinet colleagues are 100% behind this. And so I would encourage all the young people of America, parents, teachers, educators, to take inventory and hear what these leaders are saying about the national security of our country, and make sure that we're encouraging our young people to get out, get your hands dirty, get your knees scarred, get on the monkey bars, start running and jumping and playing together. Because if you're a good teammate, the stronger team we are, the stronger country we are. So thank you, sir.
Well, thank you. I have to just say we have a star named Linda McMahon, and she's made a tremendous amount of money on sports. At sport, they are great athletes, in my opinion. WWE with her great husband. What they built is incredible. They sold it for a fortune. Billions and billions of dollars. You made more than Bryson and Gary put if you add it up. Would you say a few words? And she's one of our greats. She's a phenomenal person. Go ahead.
Well, that intro is a hard act to follow.
That's tough.
But I think what we've talked a lot about fitness, and I think that's incredibly important because that's what all this is about. But the greats had an axiom: sound mind and a sound body. So as Secretary of Education, clearly, I want all of our schools to be able to adopt, these programs. We don't control curriculum from the Department of Education, but I sincerely hope the emphasis that is being refocused on kids and being fit and being able to compete. That's what you've said, Pete. All of us are saying the same thing, but let's not forget, it's about also a sound mind and a sound body. In order to have a sound mind, you do have to eat well, you do have to exercise, you do have to train, and you do have to be fit to do that. And if we all are, we are the best of who we can be. So I encourage all of you to enjoy playing and competing and being good sports, while you're doing, but don't forget you're studying all of your academics because it is all part of the total package.
Thank you, Linda. Great job. Appreciate it. So we have a couple of other guys. If you guys wanted to say anything, or we'll just take some questions. And if you'd like, you could ask the big guy, how fast did he throw it? He threw it very fast. It's very scary. It's scary. Ken, you want to say something?
I guess I'll just reiterate the thanks, Mr. President. Thank you, the cabinet members, for this opportunity to be here. Thank you, Bryson, to allow me to be in this elite company of people. It's a pleasure to meet all you guys. And
let me look at you. You're embodiment of the physical fitness test, so we got to get you on the seriously good physical fitness. And Coach, you've done great at Florida. Thank you very much, sir.
No, incredible honor to be here. This is something that I'm passionate about, and I think it's imperative that we're doing this for our youth right now. Through experience, my wife and I have two young kids, 9 and 7. They're very active, very athletic, but I can see some of their classmates and some of their teammates, staring at screens all day. And again, as I said, it's really important that we do this now. And not only I think this will improve the overall physical health of our young people, but I think it'll also help the mental health of our young people as well.
And just in case you don't know, he is a coach who just came to a team and just took it right from the beginning here. Just unbelievable job you've done.
Thank you very much.
You're a very rich guy. She'll pay him anything. I want to represent him. She'll pay him. He comes in and it just boom, this over. Congratulations. Who's going to win in hockey?
It's a tough one. Colorado's the favorite. I like Minnesota, though.
All right, we're going to watch, okay?
Yeah, it'll be
We're
good.
going to watch. Great job.
Thank you.
Great job you've done. Thank you. And we're going to go outside. Did you want to ask a few questions of any of the people here? Please.
Okay, so now he's going to be moving into the press conference, per se, where he's going to take some questions. This goes on for 20 minutes of questions. The president loves to sit and take questions from people. Now, understand, Marco Rubio is supposed to come up anytime the next 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'll play the questions as long until Marco Rubio comes out because he's live. We'll cut and take Marco Rubio live at the press conference, taking Karoline Leavitt, and then when he's done, we'll come back to President Trump.
Can I ask you about Iran, Mr. President?
Yes.
They've fired at U.S. ships several times in the last 24 hours. What do they need to do to violate the ceasefire?
Well, you'll find out because I'll let you know. They know what to do and they know what to do. And they know what not to do, more importantly, actually. And they fired them in little boats with pea shooters, the pea shooters, little boat with little, why? Because they don't have any boats anymore. Their Navy is comprised of, they call them little boats.
Fast
right?
boats or little boats.
And they're fast, they're so fast that they had 8 of them and they're all gone. And they're fast, but they're not fast like a missile. A missile is slightly faster. They're all gone, so they're looking around for little boats to try and compete with our great Navy. We have a Navy that's unbelievable. We set up a blockade, as you know very well. Not one ship. A couple tried, and they got their engine shut out. You remember? I think it was one of them. It was a great display. A ship wanted to go through, break the blockade. They were warned not to. And then they were warned again by a young Annapolis captain of the ship with a great look, central casting. These people are central casting, I'll tell you. And he said, don't do it. Then he said, evacuate your engine room with this unbelievable loudspeaker that goes over water. He said, you have 10 seconds. And then from 4 miles with one bullet, it went right into the engine. And Gary, the ship stopped very quickly. They hit the engine with one shot. It wasn't a missile. They don't want to waste a missile on it. It's too easy. And we had another one, a 2000, one of the biggest ships in the world. They were warned, and he said, go back now, go back right now. You will be shot at within 10 seconds. Yes, yes, I am going back to Iran. I am going back. And that was the end of that, right? He went. It took him 10 miles to turn. The ship was so big, but they respect us. They didn't used to respect us, but they respect us more than we've ever been respected. Our country now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We had a country that was dead when we had that group of people that ran this country with their open borders, letting anybody come in from the Congo, from countries all over the world. They came in from prisons and mental institutions. We had a country that would have been a dead, if they won the election, this country would have been a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said recently that if Iranians were armed, they could take over their regime. Do you plan to arm them soon?
Well, I don't want to say that, but yeah, I mean, people say, why aren't they protesting? They want to protest, but they don't have any guns. So you could have 200,000 people protesting and have 5 or 6 sick people with guns. And when they start shooting them right between the eyes, and you see a guy fall and another one fall, and you have no guns, very few people would be able to stand there and do it. I mean, I understand it. I tell them not to. Don't forget, they killed 42,000 people last month. 42,000 unarmed protesters. They had no guns. So they had a 250,000 people crowd, and they had snipers. They had like 4 or 5 snipers in buildings up high. And you're standing there, and all of a sudden the guy on your left goes down, then somebody. That's what happened with the women protest. They had 200,000 women protesting a year ago, and everyone thought that was the end of Iran. And then all of a sudden, a woman dropped dead with a bullet right there, always right there. Then another woman dropped, and then the word started to spread, and then there was panic, and then they ran, and so I don't want that to happen. We don't need that, we don't need it. But the only reason that they want to protest so badly, but they don't have weapons. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, you have a very important meeting with President Xi in Beijing. Secretary Bessent has said that a top priority on the agenda will be Iran. What do you hope to achieve with President Xi as it relates to Iran?
Well, I have a very good relationship with President Xi. I find him to be a tremendous guy. And we get along well, and you see how we do. We're doing a lot of business with China and making a lot of money. We're making a lot of money. It's different than it used to be. But I'll be talking about that'll be one subject. But he's been very nice about this. In all fairness, he gets like 60% of his oil from Hormuz, and I think he's been very respectful. We haven't been challenged by China. They don't challenge us, and he wouldn't do that. I don't think he'd do that because of me. But I think he's been very respectful, and we've offered, if he wants to send the ships to the United States. I think one of the big things that's happened is I made a statement: send your ships to Texas. It's not that much further. Send your ships to Louisiana. Send your ships to Alaska. Alaska is actually very close to a lot of the Asian countries. People don't realize it. Japan is back and forth. It's like, it doesn't seem it, but it's a very short route, 2 days shorter than almost any other route. We're making tremendous big deals with South Korea and with Japan. But I said, send your ships. All of a sudden, I don't know if you saw the graph today. This is Space Force, which I created. Space Force has, they just sent out some photos of the ships that are lined up all the way down the ocean like it's a highway. It looks like the Long Island Expressway for ships. And they're all heading to Texas, Louisiana. We've made up this list, and that's why when I decided that I have to do this for the good of the world, not just the United States, in a way, we would have been in less trouble than a lot of other places. Certainly the Middle East would have been blown up. There wouldn't be a Middle East anymore. They would have taken over the Middle East. Now now they're trying to survive, and they won't be successful unless they make a deal. Oh, if they don't make a deal, they won't be successful. It'll go very quickly and methodically. Believe me, it'll be very easy. But we have so many alternatives. It's amazing, and nobody knew this, because as an example, Japan got 90% of their oil, most of their energy, but most of their oil from the Hormuz Strait. South Korea got 43% of it. By the way, their ship was shot at. They were not in the cavalcade of ships. They decided to go it alone, and their ship got the hell knocked out of it yesterday. But they didn't shoot the ships that were guarded by us, I'll tell you that. We knocked down a lot of missiles. So what happens is that we have a situation where we have total control. As you know, the blockade's been amazing. It's like a piece of steel. Nobody's going to challenge the blockade. And I think it's working out very well. We're going to see. I can say this, Iran wants to make a deal.
I just wanted to jump in and let you guys know Marco has not come out yet, so everyone's still waiting. It's 5 minutes after 3 o'clock. Just wanted to make sure to let you know that you're not missing anything.
What I don't like about Iran is they'll talk to me with such great respect, and then they'll go on television, they'll say, we did not speak to the president. We did not, I just spoke to, we did not speak to the president. So they play games, but let me just tell you, they want to make a deal. And who wouldn't? When your military is totally gone, we could do anything we want to them. Who wouldn't? Please.
On the filibuster, Mr. President, you posted a lot about wanting to eliminate the filibuster. It hasn't happened. Are you disappointed in Leader?
Yeah, no, I'm disappointed. I like John a lot, but he has a couple of Republicans that are foolish people. A couple of them I like, a couple of them I can't stand, actually, if you want to know the truth. Although I am, according to CNN, 100% approval within the Republican Party. That's better than your record, Gary. I'm at 100% approval. Did you see the CNN poll? Nobody talks about it. CNN, I think the people that did that poll probably got fired. But within the Republican Party in MAGA, which is basically 100% of the party, I think, but 100%. No, I think that you're going to see some very interesting things. The filibuster, if you had it, we should have the Save America Act. We should have voter identification, voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. We should have mail-in voting for the military and people that need it, but not for everybody. Because anytime you have mail-in voting, they're going to cheat. And they cheat like dogs. And they have to cheat. In all fairness to the Democrats, when you have men and women sports, when you have open borders, when you have transgender mutilization, don't listen to this, kids, of your children, transgender mutilization of your children, for everyone. When you have policies like that, you have to cheat. It's the only way they can win. And we shouldn't allow them to cheat. And we should terminate the filibuster, because if they get the chance, they'll do it in the first hour back.
Mr. President, thank you. When Iran is seeing 50% inflation, they've moved money from their sovereign
wealth. Their economy is crashing.
Would you allow their financial system then to fail?
Well, I guess so, because we're making it fail. Right?
Is that what it takes?
I hope it fails.
Is that what it takes?
You know why? Because I want to win. It takes getting pounded on by the military, I think, for more. But in addition to that, it is failing. We have sanctions on them, tremendous sanctions. Scott Bessent's done a great job. We have sanctions that nobody's ever seen before. No, they're failing. Their currency is worthless. Their inflation is probably 150%. The real number is 150%. They aren't paying their soldiers. They can't pay their soldiers. The money is worthless. No, they should do the smart thing, They should do the smart thing, and because we don't want to go in and kill people. We really don't. I don't want to. It's too tough. Great people. I know the people. I have so many Iranian friends from New York and from other places over the years. They're great people. I don't want to kill those.
Gas prices in the United States.
Incident yesterday. Is it possible that you can talk about that?
Well, wait, go ahead, finish it.
Yeah, gas prices in the United States are $1.48 cents a gallon. You said they would come back down.
They'll drop lower than they were before.
Will Project Freedom, supporting those ships, make that happen?
Well, it will, because so people don't realize some of these tankers hold 2 million barrels. One of them holds I think it's the largest one in the world. That sucker is big. I've never seen anything like it. A ship, it's bigger than aircraft carriers. And yeah, it has a big impact. It's so much. You know, there are like 400 ships in there, 400. That in itself. Now, the best is when it ends and just neutralizes. But what's happening is people are learning to buy oil from the United States. I mean, they're making the trip, and they have safer. Probably it's a better product too, by the way. But they're learning to buy. They're changing their habits. So when I did this, I thought the market would go down 25%, and I thought that was a great deal if it did. If it went down 25%, I was satisfied. I said, because we cannot let these people have a nuclear weapon. They'll use it. We can't. I also thought oil would go up to 200, 250, maybe 300, and I knew it would be short term, but I thought it would go. I looked today; it's like at 102, and that's a very small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon from people that are really mentally deranged. Yeah.
President, just on politics.
The world is like, by the way, other presidents should have done this. 47 years they've been toying with these stupid people. In many cases, stupid people. This should have been done by Obama. He went the other way. He was giving them cash. He sent plane loads of Boeing 757, took the seats out, and put green cash, $1.7 billion in the plane. Every bank in Virginia, D.C., and Maryland was stripped of their cash. They took out all the cash from the banks. They put it into a plane, a Boeing 757 packed with cash, and they flew it to Iran, and they let these guys just, I don't know what the hell they did with it, but they took it and then gave them billions and billions of dollars and bribed them basically to be friends. And after giving them tens of billions of dollars, they screwed Obama, okay? That's not the way we play. No, we do it the old-fashioned way. And they should wave. They're very proud. Maybe you won't see a white flag, but essentially that's already what they are. They should wave the white flag of surrender. In hockey, they say, "Uncle," right? When are they gonna cry "Uncle"? But, and they have another expression. If this were a fight, they would stop it. But you know, we have to go out and we have to do it, and it's very sad to see. Even shooting those boats, they've got 3-4 guys. They got a little machine gun in front. They're shooting at one of our ships that's meant for it. It bounces, they don't even know they're being shot at. And then they take it out with an Apache helicopter in about 2 seconds. They go, Apache ship, northwest 10 degrees, turns around, boom. I don't like that, you know? You lose people, all these people, it's so unnecessary. It's so unnecessary. One thing we have the greatest military in the world. I built it, because I built it in my first term. I didn't think I'd be using it, at least so much in my second term. But we have the greatest military, the best equipment in the world. We had 111 missiles shot at one of our assets, one of the aircraft carriers, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. Think of this, 111 sophisticated missiles shot at one of our aircraft carriers. And every single one of those missiles was shot down with no problem whatsoever.
Hello.
Marco's coming in.
Thank
Here
you
we
guys
go.
for having me today. I'll be filling in for Karoline today, obviously. So I'll have a brief remarks here, and then we'll get to your questions. As you know, over the weekend, the president announced this Project Freedom, and the goal of it is to, frankly, if you want to talk about it, it's to rescue like almost 23,000 civilians from 87 different countries that are trapped inside of the Gulf and left for dead in the Persian Gulf by this Iranian regime. You know, for more than 2 months now, these innocent sailors and commercial crew members have been stranded out at sea because Iran is conducting something that's not just criminal. It's criminal for sure, but it's desperate and destructive, this blockade of the Straits of Hormuz. Nations from around the world, the overwhelming majority of whom are not even engaged in any military hostilities, are now at risk not just of losing their cargo, but the lives of their own citizens because of this blockade. These ships, you don't leave a ship out there for this long. You start running out of food. You start running out of potable water, essential supplies, and they're at the mercy of this piracy. And what it is, it's piracy. And not only that, but some of them have seen, been opened fire on and rained down senseless attacks on several civilian ships already. So frankly, the way to put it, these are innocent bystanders. These are countries that and ships and so forth that have nothing to do with any of this, and nonetheless are being caught in the middle of it and being held hostage merely because Iran could do that, just as the regime brutally slaughtered tens of thousands of their own citizens for the crime of peaceful protest, because they're unhappy with the quality of life or the lack of quality of life in Iran today. And so they're sitting ducks. They're isolated, they're starving, they're vulnerable, and at least 10 sailors have already died as a result of the civilian sailors. So already many nations privately and some publicly have asked the United States to help free their ships and to restore freedom of navigation in the Straits of Hormuz and this critical artery of global trade. And so President Trump, as he always does, stepped up and answered the calls for their help. And he's directed the United States military to guide these stranded ships to safety, to provide a protective bubble under which they can operate and move product and get themselves out of there and out of the harm's way. And this is the first step towards reopening the strait and bringing this regime's last-ditch act of economic arson, bringing that to a close. We're doing it not only because we were asked, but because we're the only ones who can. We have the power to sort of take the steps that we've taken now. Under this president, under President Trump, the United States will help our friends. We're going to stand up to rogue regimes like the one in Tehran, and we're going to be unashamed to use our power and our abilities to project military power in the service of our national interest above all else. Now, what's really important for you to report and for everyone to understand is this is not an offensive operation. This is a defensive operation. And what that means is very simple. There's no shooting unless we're shot at first. Okay? We're not attacking them. But if they're attacking us or they're attacking a ship, you need to respond to that. You're not going to let some fast boat come up on the ship and shoot it up. We're going to respond to it. And we've been successful at it. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know a number of those fast boats have now been targeted. And will continue to be if they pose a threat to our forces. We'll shoot down drones, we'll shoot down missiles, but it's defensive in nature. This is defensive. So if you hear stories about attacks and launching of firing back and forth, it's not back and forth. We are only responding if attacked first. This is a defensive operation, and that's what's occurring here. Just about the importance of the Straits for a moment. This is approximately a quarter of the world's oil trade, along with significant volumes of fuel and fertilizer that operate through the Straits of Hormuz. The Iranian regime cannot be allowed to dictate who uses this vital waterway. I don't think this is also being reported enough. Maybe you are reporting. I don't read everyone. I don't know many damn outlets here. I don't know who you all are, but I know who some of you are, but I don't know all of you are. But I will say this about it. This is an international waterway. Okay, this is an international waterway. And international law is very clear, and I love it because everybody always talks about international law on this. International law on this is very clear. International waterways, no country can control them. There is no international law that allows you to say, I'm going to put mines in an international body of water and I'm going to blow up ships that don't listen to us and try to go through. That's what Iran is doing. This is a criminal act. And someone needs to do something about it. Something needs to be done. It's completely illegal, completely illegitimate, and completely unacceptable. And that's why the United States military is guiding stranded commercial ships safely through the strait and is working to restore freedom of navigation and putting an end to these efforts to hold the global economy hostage. So far, as a proof of concept and as a proof of function, 2 U.S. flag merchant ships have successfully transferred the Strait of Hormuz in the first stages of this project, and they're now safely on their way. The U.S. military is deploying the necessary assets to extend this defensive umbrella over commercial shipping. But there should be no mistake. And as I said this already, this is a defensive operation. I want to reiterate that point. This is important to understand. If no shots are fired at these ships and no shots are fired at us, we're not firing shots. But if we're fired on, we will respond, and we will respond with lethal efficiency. The assets supporting this project, by the way, include guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, multi-domain unmanned platforms, and 15,000 of the finest military service members on the planet. These forces have already destroyed, as I told you earlier, I thought it was 6, it's 7 Iranian fast boats that failed to heed our warnings. And by fast boats, we're talking about, some of these things look like Boston whalers. Okay, so these are not like Navy ships. But nonetheless, they come fast at these boats, try to swarm them, try to harm them. We're not going to let that happen. So 7 of them now sit at the bottom of the sea, along with, by the way, the rest of Iran's Navy. That's where you can find their Navy today. And we're going to continue to systematically clear this passageway through the straits to restore freedom of navigation. Now, while this project steadily progresses, Operation Economic Fury, continues to impose maximum pressure on the Iranian regime and what remains of their already frail economy. Today, inflation in Iran is 70%, and their currency is in total and complete freefall. U.S. sanctions enforcement is stepping up. It's moving in lockstep with the naval blockade to degrade Iran's capacity to generate, to move, and repatriate revenue. It directly targets the regime's primary revenue lifelines. The blockade alone is costing Iran as much as $500 million a day in lost revenue. 90% of total Iranian trade has been halted, causing permanent damage to Iran's oil infrastructure as wells are forced to shut in. Again, all of this is in response to their piracy. Okay, it cannot be that you have these straits and they blow up any ship that moves and the only ships that get to go through are theirs. You can't have a situation in which the straits are closed to everyone else, but they benefit from the piracy. That can't happen. That's why the blockade is in place, and that's why these sanctions are crippling them. Any foreign financial, and by the way, Treasury is now identifying and cutting off every dollar of revenue that's flowing to this regime. And so, look, any foreign financial institution or commercial actor that enables Iran's sanctions evasion is going to face secondary sanctions exposure and a loss of access to the U.S. financial system. As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here. Every day the conflict continues, however, our leverage on Iran will continue to increase, and their position will continue to weaken, especially as the blockade really begins to bite in conjunction with the sanctions. So, look, the time's come for Iran to make a sensible choice. And it's not easy for them to do that, obviously, because they have a fracture in their own leadership system. And apart from that, I mean, the top people in that government are, to say the least, they're insane in the brain. And so we need to address that, and it's difficult because it's hard to get past that in their system. But it's important for them to make a sensible choice and the one that's right for their people. The president, our president, has proven time and again that his preference is peace. But Iran must accept the reality of this situation and come to the negotiation table and accept terms that are good for them but ultimately good for the world. The diplomatic path, if there's a real diplomatic path, I'm not always going to be one, but if there's a real diplomatic path and we continue to explore it, Steve and Jared are working on that very hard. If there is one there, it could be one that leads them to reconstruction, to prosperity, and to stability, and to not posing a threat to the world. The alternative is growing isolation, economic collapse, and ultimately total defeat. I know what the right choice is for Iran. I hope that the people over there making decisions will make the right one. The last point I would make, and it really is important for them to understand this, is they really shouldn't test the will of the United States, at least not under President Donald Trump. He has proven time and again that he will back up what he says. And if they test him, ultimately they will lose. The hard way, the easy way, the long way, the short way, they will lose. And with that, it's time for your questions. So, Catherine, why don't we start with you first?
Hi, Catherine Harrich. I'm an independent journalist. Secretary Rubio, have you seen any recent indications that Iran is willing to give up its nuclear weapons program that is credible, verifiable, and that would lead to an immediate de-escalation?
Well, look, this is a long-standing problem for them, right? I mean, they have wanted, they have always said they don't want a nuclear weapon. That's because they've always said that, they just don't mean it. And why do you say, well, how do you know they don't mean it? Well, we don't mean it because they're doing all the things, and historically have tried to do all the things that you do if you want a nuclear weapons program. For example, they innovate and try to innovate long-range delivery missiles that now, in some cases, are capable of reaching much of Europe. They build these large underground centrifuges for enrichment activity. There are countries in the world that are involved in the enrichment business, but these guys do it in mountains and in caves and in hiding. They've always had secret components of their nuclear program undisclosed to the world. And we know for a fact that they retain highly enriched uranium at 60%, that they did so. And that has no civilian use, none, zero whatsoever. So they have an opportunity here to agree to something that will make it clear that they're not interested in a one thing is to say we don't want a nuclear weapon. Another thing is to do the things that prove you don't want a nuclear weapon. By the way, if what Iran wants is a civilian nuclear program for power plants and stuff like that, there are a lot of countries in the world that have that, and they don't enrich. They import the enriched material. You know, they could have that if that's what they wanted, but they're not acting like that's what they wanted. They're acting like they want a military, nuclear program. That's unacceptable. So that's the process we're engaged in now. To create, that's the object of this diplomacy, is to come up with some level of understanding about what are the topics that they've agreed to negotiate on. We don't have to have the actual agreement written out, and one day this is highly complex and highly technical. But we have to have a diplomatic solution that is very clear about the topics that they are willing to negotiate on and the extent and the concessions they're willing to make at the front end in order to make those talks worthwhile. That's what Stephen Jarrett and the whole team is working on, and I hope to have good news on it. That's the outcome we would prefer. That's the outcome we would have preferred a year ago. That's the outcome I think most of us would have preferred a long time ago. But that's not the option they've given us given their activity. All right, there's no way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just going to press right in the middle, right there, you right there, yeah. Time ago. But that's not the option they've given us given their activity. All right, there's no way I can figure out who to call on. I'm just going to press right in the middle, right there, you right there, yeah. In the back row.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'll go to you next. I can't get everything. All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Secretary Rubio. Keep going right. Welcome to the White House.
What's that?
Talking to me, sir?
Yeah, to you, yes, sir.
Thank you. I have two questions on two separate issues that come.
Do they get two questions for these?
Two questions.
There's a lot of people in here.
That fall under your umbrella.
All right. Well, you answer. You can ask me two questions. I'll give you one answer.
Thank you very much.
And I'll pick the one I like better.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The first has to do with the blockade. There are lawmakers from both parties who claim the blockade is an act of war. What do you say to that? And my second question has to do with the fuel embargo of Cuba. How long, Mr. Secretary, will that last?
Okay, two things. All right, good. I'll answer both your questions because I like the second one too. The first one on the blockade. And so why do we have a blockade? We have a blockade because they shut down the straits. So I don't know which members of Congress you're talking to, but here's what I would ask them. I would ask everybody here. It's very simple. These guys have shut down the Straits of Hormuz. This is what Iran is saying. We will shut down the straits. No one can go through. No country in the world can go through unless we allow you to go through, and you have to pay us. But our ships can go through, meaning the Iranian ships, as much as they want. That's crazy. Who would agree to that? So how are we going to have a situation where they get to close the straits to everybody, and the only people who are allowed to go through there 100% without paying anything are the Iranians? If you do that, they'll keep the straits closed forever. They're trying to make this some new normal. Okay, under no circumstances can we ever allow them to normalize the fact that they get to blow up commercial ships and put mines in the water. So the response to that is we're going to blockade your ships. If everyone's ships are not getting out, your ships are not getting out either. That's not an act of war. That's a defensive measure. It's a counter to what they have decided to do. You know what is an act of war? Putting mines in the water. Why don't the members of Congress, whoever it is complaining about it, they should be all over that. These guys put mines in the water. That alone, mining in the water is illegal, period, under any circumstances, and they've done it. But this is crazy stuff, but this is what they've done. On Cuba, oil blockade on Cuba. There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba, okay? Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela. Used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Venezuelans have decided we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays, the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. Doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists, that's bad enough, but they're incompetent communists. The only thing worse than a communist is an incompetent one. And that's what, so incompetent communists run that country, they don't know how to fix it. They really don't. And we have 90 miles from our shores a failed state that also happens to be friendly territory for some of our adversaries. So it's an unacceptable status quo, and we'll be addressing it, but not today. Okay. All right, let's go to the front, right there.
Secretary Rubio.
Yeah.
You are going to the Vatican to meet with the Pope. Is this an attempt to smooth things over with the Pope, given the rhetoric between President Trump and Pope Leo?
No, it's a trip we had planned from before, and obviously we had some stuff that happened, and no, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly. And we have shared concerns about religious freedom, freedom in different parts of the world. We'd love to talk to them about that. The topic of Cuba, we gave Cuba $6 million of humanitarian aid, but obviously they won't let us distribute it. We distributed it through the church. We'd like to do more. We're willing to give more humanitarian aid to Cuba, by the way, distributed through the church, but the Cuban regime has to allow us to do it. They won't allow us to give their own people more humanitarian aid. and we're willing to do it through the church. So there's a lot to talk about.
And the president recently said that the Pope is endangering a lot of Catholics as a result of his rhetoric around the Iran war. Is that a sentiment?
Well, I don't think that's an accurate description of what he said. I think what the president basically said is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon because they would use it against places that have a lot of Catholics and Christians and others for that matter. It goes back to the central point. I think the president, without trying to speak for him, but I think I can characterize it this way, he doesn't understand why anybody, leave aside the Pope, the president, and I, for that matter, I think most people, I cannot understand why anyone would think that it's a good idea for Iran to ever have a nuclear weapon. Look what they're doing with the Straits right now. They're holding the whole world hostage. They have these sailors, on commercial ships that are going to starve to death out there. They don't care. They don't care that this is melting down the economies around the world, even of their own allies. This is what they're doing with the Straits. What do you think they would do if they had a nuclear weapon? They would hold the world hostage with that nuclear weapon. That's what they would do. They would do exactly to the world with a nuclear weapon what they're doing now with the Straits. And I think the president's point is how anyone cannot see that as an unacceptable outcome and an unacceptable risk is beyond him. It's puzzling. And someone has to do something about it. The difference between this president and like the 6 presidents that preceded him were that he's the only one that's actually been willing to do something about it. Everyone says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, but you got to do something about it at some point. And he's been willing to address that threat. And that's what he promised he would do when he got elected, by the way, is address threats like this.
Secretary.
Yeah, I wish I knew your name, guys. I apologize. Can you put name tags on?
Thank you so much, Mr. Secretary.
Who are you with?
I'm with Rubio Media Network.
Okay.
Mr. Secretary, the President has said multiple times that weapons were provided to the Kurdish groups to pass on the Iranian people. However, Kurdish political parties and the regional government says they have not received such weapons. Even some claim these weapons remain in the U.S. base in the region. Can you clarify who those weapons were given to and whether you intend to retrieve them or still want to pass to the Iranian people?
Yeah, look, ultimately, what the president is expressing, and I think has repeatedly, is he wished the Iranian people had, look, he's heartbroken by these images. You think about it, you're an Iranian, okay? You're unhappy that your economy doesn't work for you. You don't have freedom. You don't have an opportunity to express yourself. You've got friends that have been shot in the head because they're out protesting. And it's heartbreaking to him to see that these people are abused in this way and have no measures to take against their own government as a result of it. By the way, this goes back, if you guys remember the protests in 2009 where they slaughtered people in the street. This is a vicious regime, guys. Okay? These are people that hang people from cranes in the town square so everyone can see. They continue these executions of people and have continue to do so for over a decade and a half now. And so I think what the president is expressing is the desire that he wishes the Iranian people had an ability to fight back against some of these things that are happening to them. And I would view that as distinct and separate from the specifics of this operation that was ongoing before it concluded, and certainly different from the operation that's going on now. Right there in the...
Regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary...
Right behind you, not Colombia, right there. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Secretary, thank you so much. On Lebanon, are we in a ceasefire or less fire? And the second question, do you think you would be able to achieve an agreement between Lebanon and Israel without risking a civil war in Lebanon? What are you doing to risk? What are you doing to...
No, I got it. I got the gist of your question. So look, here's the challenge with Lebanon, okay? There's no problem between the Lebanese government and the Israeli government. Israel doesn't claim any land in Lebanon belongs to them. And by and large, I think a peace deal between Lebanon and Israel is imminently achievable and should be. The problem with Israel and Lebanon is not Israel or Lebanon, it's Hezbollah. Hezbollah operates from inside of Lebanese territory. They terrorize and attack Israelis, but they also are inflicting tremendous damage on the Lebanese people. The reason why Lebanon gets attacked by Israel is because of Hezbollah. Because Hezbollah is hiding in some house, launching rockets against Israelis, and then they get hit. So what you're seeing now is Israeli responses to either attacks or perceived threats. And this is not new. This has been going on for a very long time. What is our hope? Our hope is to engage the Lebanese and Israeli governments under our mediation at the table to achieve this. And that is having Lebanese armed forces and a Lebanese government, not just with the willingness, but with the capability to begin to challenge Hezbollah and disarm them. Because the Lebanese people are also victims of Hezbollah. And by the way, on the topic of Hezbollah in Lebanon, who is behind Hezbollah? Why do they exist? They're an agent of Iran. If you go through that Middle East and you identify every problem, Hamas, Hezbollah, to some extent the Houthis, obviously, and others, behind every one of these groups is Tehran. So apart from the nuclear weapons, apart from all these other things, these guys are behind all the bad actors. Hezbollah is a wing. It's an extension of Iranian desire to destabilize the region. So we're very committed to this process. It's not going to be easy. You're asking me a complex question. You know this has been going on for a very long time. It's not going to be easy. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that both sides continue to talk so that progress can be made on some sort of permanent ceasefire that isn't constantly spoiled by Hezbollah and by Hezbollah violence. Right in the middle. I'm winging it, guys, okay? Right there, yes, sir.
You mentioned the 2 U.S. ships that safely crossed the Strait of Hormuz. Are other ships being told it's safer to get back to regular levels, or are we still going to see limits in place for the foreseeable future?
For obvious reasons, I'm not going to broadcast who we're talking to or who we're telling them to move. I mean, we want these operations to be safe, and I think as it unfolds and ships get through, we'll make those announcements after the fact, just for operational security purposes. But the goal here is pretty simple. Establish a zone of transit that is protected by a bubble, the United States, both naval and air assets, and then allow ships who want to move through there and get to market, to begin to increase confidence in the ability to do so. That doesn't happen in 12 hours. It takes time to set up that bubble and gain that confidence, but that's the goal. We have been in touch. We've been in touch, I don't know, with a bunch of different liners about moving. And we're hoping to continue to improve the security situation, and we'll start to see some of that movement. And we'll announce it as it happens after the fact. We're not going to be like broadcasting, hey, tomorrow at 12, ship X is going to be coming through, for obvious reasons, because that degrades the security. But we feel confident we're going to be able to achieve that. Look, it's not going to solve the whole Straits problem. It's going to solve a lot of it. But it's important to challenge what Iran is doing now. Guys, again, I wonder if you take anything away today, and I can't tell you what to write, but Iran cannot be allowed to normalize this control of the Straits. It's completely unlawful, illegal. It's outrageous. And every country in the world should be joining us and condemning it and doing something about it. But the United States has stepped up and is trying to do something about it.
Regarding Colombia, Mr. Secretary, we've had several tourists.
I'm sorry. We'll see if we get to Colombia today. Go ahead. You guys have an election now. Why don't you wait till after your election?
Mr. Secretary, Tom Michael Ross with Daily Mail. I was curious about your meeting with Southcom earlier. There was a picture, a map of Cuba behind you. What did you discuss with Southcom about Cuba? And do you have any updates on?
I'm not going to tell you what I discussed with Southcom.
but it had to do something with Cuba.
No,
what about?
Cuba's in Southcom. It's the closest part. And so the second point, I was there. Our ambassadors were in from the whole Western Hemisphere. I was addressing them, meeting the general who just took command of Southcom, and there happened to be a map of Cuba. And I said, it'd be good if we took a picture in front of that map, because it's like the closest thing in Southcom to the United States. So there it is. We have maps of other countries, huh?
What about Greenland? Did you update on Greenland?
No, they didn't have that map then. In the red, right there in the red.
In the red, okay. Cristina de Telemundo, Mr. Sec. Can I ask you in Spanish or can I ask
you can answer in Spanish. You can ask me. They'll have to translate for them what you ask.
Well, I'll say it in English, and if you can answer in both languages. Today I checked the webpage of the State Department, and there's still a $25 million bounty on Diosdado Cabello, the Secretary of Interior, for drug trafficking and narco-terrorism. I was wondering if that has been put on hold, or if you're negotiating with President Delcy Rodriguez to turn him over.
I don't have any updates for you on that. The website is what it is, and that's where it stands. That policy hasn't changed. But guys, let's be mature here a little bit. I'm not going to tell you about what we're talking about with the leader of these countries.
El Departamento de Estado sigue considerando a Diosdado Cabello un narcoterrorista y un narcotraficante, como dice en la página del Departamento de Estado.
La política de Estados Unidos en ese tema no ha cambiado, y cuando cambie te dejaremos saber. The politics of the United States on that, the policy of the United States on that topic hasn't changed. When it does, obviously we'll inform you, but I don't have any news for you on that today. I'll get to you. Are you guys all the TV people?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go. I'm learning. They gave me a little map. I don't know where I put it of the people here. Some of you had like red X's. I'm kidding. No, that's not true. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The average price of gas in the country right now is $4.50. Do you have a thought on how long Americans are supposed to kind of accept this? Do you think it will affect Republicans' majorities in the midterms?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on the politics of it. You can tell me. Look, it's obviously being driven by global events. That was true during the Russia-Ukraine war as well, where you saw that come up. It's look, we don't benefit from the Straits as much as other countries. I don't know if you've seen what the gas prices are like in other parts of the world that are really suffering big time. So we're very fortunate that the United States, I believe right now, is like the world's largest net exporter of oil and natural gas as a result, and not because of this war, but because we have this capacity. So we've been insulated to some degree. We're obviously still vulnerable to some extent to global prices, and so, but in the end, I mean, we're more insulated than other countries, even though that's not welcome news to Americans that are paying more at the pump, no doubt about it. And it certainly is one of the circumstances of it. There are people that were predicting would be much higher at this point, but we're not taking that for granted. Suffice it to say that think about it this way. Everybody needs to think about it this way. If Iran had a nuclear weapon, and they decided to close the straits and make our gas prices like $9 a gallon or $8 a gallon, we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because they have a nuclear weapon. And a nuclear-armed Iran could do whatever the hell they want with the straits, and there's nothing anyone would be able to do about it. And that's one of the many reasons, apart from like the massive loss of life in a nuclear strike, why Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. I mean, so this is an example of, if they had a nuclear weapon, they closed the straits and they would tell the world, what are you going to do about it? We have a nuclear weapon, we can attack you with it. That's the world none of us want to leave behind. It won't happen under this president's watch, but some future president and the future Americans will have to deal with this. So just one more example of why these guys can never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Right there, in the black. Right, you in the black. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Where you? No, right there. You both are wearing black.
Thank you.
She's closer. No, you don't have black. You have blue on. I'm colorblind, but I know blue and black.
Thank you so much.
Right there. Yes, ma'am. No, you. The first one I called on.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you. This is chaos, guys. Go ahead.
Welcome to the White House. You've long been a leading voice on human rights in China, and so including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week. Do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table?
Well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And we'll continue to raise them in the appropriate forums. All right. Let's get to the front. These guys are going to get mad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sergeant McKinley, Associated Press. You mentioned earlier that some countries have privately and publicly indicated their willingness to help with Project Freedom. Can you say how many have reached out to the U.S. with the offers of help and what kind of capabilities?
Well, I mean, thank you for your question. That's a good question. I mean, multiple countries have said we got to do something about it and fix it.
Is it like dozens or single digits or more than 100? Or?
I don't know. I don't put a number on it. I would just tell you that here's what I would say about it. The capabilities is the issue. Okay, a lot of countries would love to do something about it. They don't have a navy. Right, or they can't get there in time, or they can't. Others, are less, that some unfortunately do have a navy are saying, oh, we'll be involved, but we'll be involved after it's over. Well, after it's over, it's kind of like, that makes sense. So, we'd like to have it. Now, there may be some utility in a post, closure mission. I'm not downplaying that, but I think that's been the challenge. But there are other ways they can help, unique ways that they can help. And I don't want to get into who these countries are for obvious reasons, because they are prepared to help us in certain ways, but maybe don't want that publicly disclosed for no other reason than it impact their foreign policy. It could have some domestic ramifications. But ultimately, I don't want to mislead you. The primary responsibility for this Project Freedom is on the United States because we're the only country that can project power in that part of the world the way we're doing now. We're the only ones that can do it, and we're going to do it as a favor to the world. Understand this. This is a favor to the world because it's their ships that are stranded. It's their fuel supplies that are stranded. By the way, it's there's humanitarian aid destined for different countries in the world that's stranded in the Persian Gulf right now. It's the fertilizer that they need for their food and crops that's stranded in the Persian, not our fertilizer, their fertilizer. So we want to be helpful, and that's why the president stepped forward, because we're the only ones that can. Frankly, we're the only ones that can.
Mr. Secretary, on the rising oil and gas prices, the president has said that this is a small price to pay for getting rid of a nuclear weapon. But 10 weeks in, are we any closer to getting rid of Iran's nuclear material?
Yeah, but look, here's the way to think about Iran, and this is what I described at the very beginning of this. What was Iran's plan? You have to understand what their plan was. Their plan was they were going to build this conventional shield where they would have so many thousands of missiles and drones and rockets that they couldn't be attacked. And behind that conventional shield that they were trying to build, they would then break out and do whatever they wanted with their nuclear program. They no longer have that conventional shield. Okay, we told you guys from the very beginning, and we're very consistent in this messaging. The operation that has concluded was going to destroy their navy. They have no navy left. They don't. Not a navy. They have small boats and Boston whalers, but they don't have a navy left. They don't have an air force. I challenge you. When is the last time you read or heard about an Iranian jet flying anywhere? They don't have an air force. Their missile launching capability has been substantially degraded, and their industrial base, their defense industrial base, has been severely, severely damaged. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about, I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the President notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom. As far as a negotiation is concerned, I think the President's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the President and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other.
But is it
Right there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary, I have another two-part question for you.
Okay.
First, are you taking part in those negotiations that you just detailed there? And then secondly, President Trump has made it clear that the U.S. doesn't rely on the Strait of Hormuz. So why should Americans even care about Project Freedom and these shipping tankers going through?
Well, I think on the second point is the one I want to address first, and that is why should Americans care and why it matters to us? Because ultimately these things have an impact on the global economy, which ultimately has an impact on our economy in the long term. That's number one. Number two, because if we live in a world where a rogue state like this Iranian regime is allowed to claim as a new normal control of our international shipping lane, it will not be long before you see that happen in multiple shipping lanes around the world. I can identify for you six or seven vital shipping lanes around the world that some countries can decide, guess what, if Iran was able to do it, we're going to do it too. We're not going to start charging tolls. And it'll get closer and closer to us. That's unacceptable. We cannot live in a world. There's a lot of time and energy been invested behind the idea that international waters are free for the free flow of goods. The stuff we make in this country and export has to go through international shipping lanes. And for us to live in a world where a country can decide, now we own the international shipping lane and you have to pay us if you want to use it, that is a normal that we will never be able to accept. And that's what the Iranians are trying to get us to do. So we're doing two things about it, and we haven't talked about the second one enough. The second thing we're doing is we're going to the UN. Everybody loves the UN, right? We're trying to go to the UN, and we're saying, okay, countries of the world, condemn this. Say that it is wrong for you to put mines there. It is wrong for you to shoot at commercial vessels. Guys, that's what we're talking about here. These guys are bombing commercial vessels. They're not bombing naval vessels. They're bombing commercial tankers. It's just outrageous. That needs to stop, and it needs to end. And if it doesn't, then the world should be diplomatically and economically isolating Iran as well. But if we live in a world where global shipping lanes can be taken over by countries, that'll have a direct impact on Americans in the short and the long term, and we can't let it start by Iran doing it. And we're the only ones that can do anything about it. All right. Right there in the green. Go ahead. Yes.
Venezuela.
Mr. Secretary, does the President intend to press Beijing on its Taiwan policy when he visits China next week?
I'm sure Taiwan will be a topic of conversation. It always is. As you know, we understand the Chinese understand our position on that topic. We understand theirs. And I think both parties, without getting ahead of myself of what will happen in the talks, but I think both countries understand that it is neither one of our interests to see anything destabilize happen in that part of the world. We don't need any destabilizing events to occur with regards to Taiwan or anywhere in the Indo-Pacific. And I think that's to the mutual benefit of both the United States and the Chinese.
Kara Castanova from Lindell TV. Thank you for taking my question today. How does the State Department...
What happened? Why is everybody giggling? What happened? I'm sorry. Are they mean?
No, they're not mean.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they are. I hope not. But I'm Kara from Lindell TV, and nice to ask you a question today, sir. How does the State Department interpret the President's recent remarks when he said, quote, the Iranian people need to have guns, and I think they are getting some guns, end quote. What did he mean, and do those comments relate to any ongoing or potential U.S. actions like supplying those weapons?
Well, I think it goes back to the question I was asked a moment ago. I think the President thinks it's heartbreaking that the Iranian people are abused by this regime the way they are. In the end, I mean, this regime is not... Guys, I know I've said this. I think I said this in my hearing before the Senate when I got confirmed. I don't know of any country in the world where there's a bigger difference between the people and the people who run the country. Okay, this country is run by radical Shia clerics. And that's not what Iran and the Iranian people are. Now, they may be Shia, but they're not radicals and they're not clerics, and they just want a normal life and a regular life, and in many ways a very cosmopolitan country with an incredible history and incredible legacy and the like. So there's this huge divide between the people of Iran, whom we sympathize with, and who the president sympathizes with, because they're the ones suffering. Look, the world is a victim of Iran, okay? The world is a victim of Iran because they're terrorists, because of what they're doing now in the Straits. But the people of Iran are daily victims of the regime, and the president has deep sympathy for what they're going through. And I think he's just expressing that sympathy and that frustration that they don't have the ability to do more to get rid of this regime that has crushed this country and isolated it from the world, which is a country that shouldn't be isolated from the world because its people are phenomenal. All right. I wish I had like a dice. Go ahead. Yeah. No, right there, because I'm going to Italy. Voy a Italia. Déjame hablar con el señor. Okay. He's Italian. I know him. He used to cover Capitol Hill. You're Italian, right?
For many years.
For many years.
Yeah,
Okay.
Daniele Papangelo, thank you, Mr. Secretary. So I have two short questions for you.
Oh, damn, two questions.
First, as you head to the Vatican and Italy, how do you view the Pope's global role amid current geopolitical shift? And what are your objectives in Italy? Is this trip tied to recent remarks by the president suggesting Italy has not been supported as expected? And the second one is about the Hezbollah in Lebanon. On a recent interview on Fox News, you raised some concern about stronger vetting within the Lebanese armed forces. What do you make? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, I've answered the first one about the Vatican. Look, I mean, the Pope is obviously the vicar of Christ, is a Roman Catholic, but he's also the head of a nation state, and it's an organization that has a presence in over 100-something countries around the world. And we engage with the Vatican quite a bit because they're present in many different places. I've already outlined to you two examples. We worked with the Catholic Church on the distribution of humanitarian aid in Cuba. We share with the Catholic Church a concern about the destruction of religious liberty, the persecution of Christian minorities, and also, the challenges that are being faced by Christians in Africa, where the Pope just recently visited. So we have a lot to talk about with them, and I engage with them quite a bit on that front. So the trip is really not tied to anything other than the fact that it would be normal for us to engage with them, and other Secretary of States have done that in the past. On the second point about Lebanon, also a question that was asked earlier. And what was the Italian part?
About the expectation that the president...
Oh, no, look, I mean, the Italians have been involved for some time in training the police and in training their forces, so we'd love to hear their input on it. And in the way, look, we welcome everybody's help eventually. What has to happen in Lebanon, what everybody wants to see, is that you have a Lebanese government with the capability to go after Hezbollah and take the Hezbollah apart. There shouldn't be a Hezbollah and a government. There should be a government. Everyone should fold underneath it. And if we do that, then there'll be peace between Israel and Lebanon. But we have to build the capacity of the Lebanese to do it. And I think Italy could be helpful in that regard. All right. Did I call on you already? You already got a question? In the green? Did I call on you already?
No.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
You mentioned the UN resolution that
Yes.
you announced today. Can you talk about what the goal is with that resolution? And there was a similar one last month that was vetoed by China and Russia. You spoke to the Russian foreign minister. Do you have an assurance that Russia will be on board with this now?
Well, we don't know. Look, I mean, everyone wouldn't want to see this vetoed again, and then we've made some slight adjustments to the language, but I don't know if it'll avoid a veto or not, but the language isn't very complicated. And I think it's a real test for the UN, right? As something that functions that can solve global problems. What is the purpose of the UN? The UN was supposed to be a place where you could peacefully resolve global conflict. Right now, you have a country who is unlawfully, criminally, and illegally taking possession of an international waterway and blowing up commercial vessels and putting mines in the water. I don't know if people appreciate how outrageous this is, how unacceptable it is that any country would fire and try to sink commercial vessels or put mines in the water. Both of these things are illegal. And so we're going to take it to the UN, and we're going to give it another chance to be a forum in which we're not even asking people to commit troops to the region and help blow up the Iranian boats. All we're asking them to do is to condemn it, to call on Iran to stop blowing ships, to remove these mines, and to allow humanitarian relief to come through, because there's humanitarian aid that's trapped. That's it. This is a very modest request. And if you're telling me that the international community and hundreds of countries cannot rally behind that, then I don't know what the utility of the UN system is, if it can't even solve something as straightforward as that. And I think to both the Chinese and the Russians, I would argue and have argued that it is in their interest for that resolution to pass and for pressure to be brought on Iran, because it is in their interest not to see international waterways, including the Straits of Hormuz, be closed down and cause economic chaos to dozens and dozens of countries around the world. Okay. Back row, yellow tie. Back row, yes, sir. Yeah.
CBN News, you've had a deep faith for God and country. At the end of the day, with all that you've been involved in,
keep going.
You've been extremely busy.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
As we all know. I got to ask you, what is your hope for America at a time such as this?
My hope for America?
And how do you personally deal with that?
Yeah, look, I mean, my hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, frankly, but I think in the U.S., we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history, and ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. But it is a unique and exceptional country, and as we come upon this 250-year anniversary, I think we have a lot to learn and be proud of in our history. It is one of perpetual and continuous improvement, where each generation has done its part to bring us closer to fulfilling the vision that the founders of this country had upon its founding. So, all right. I have time for 2 more questions. The pink. No, you right there. That lady. No, the one right next to you in the pink. No, the pink. I'm sorry, but I pointed at her. I need to get a laser pointer and just go. Now you in the pink jacket, the lady right there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I have a question on Iran-China relations.
Okay.
What's your reaction to Iranian foreign minister visit to China? Also, Beijing instructed its firms to ignore U.S. sanctions. Could you also address that?
Well, I'll direct you to Treasury on that front. There are options that we have. If you ignore our sanctions, you're going to face secondary sanctions. And I don't have an announcement for you on that today, but we don't do these things, for symbolic purposes. On the first point about the visit, it's fine. I hope the Chinese tell him what he needs to be told, and that is that what you are doing in the Straits is causing you to be globally isolated. You're the bad guy in this. You guys should not be blowing up ships. You should not be putting mines. You should not be trying to hold hostage the global economy. I hope the Chinese bring, whether it's done privately, but I hope it's done directly, that's the message they deliver to them. As I outlined earlier today, China is an export-driven economy. Okay, I'm not here to speak on behalf of what's in the best interest of China, but it's obvious. China is an export-driven economy. That means they depend on other countries to buy from them. Well, you can't buy from them if you can't ship it there, and you can't buy from them if your economy is being destroyed by what Iran is doing. So it is in China's interest that Iran stop closing the Straits. It's harming China as well. The gentleman in the red tie, right there. Yes, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Liz Landers with PBS News Hours.
Okay.
Another question about the China-Iran relationship. You said at the beginning of your comments at the top that every single financial situation will be targeted. Does that include Chinese banks? Would the president sanction?
We're going to enforce our sanctions. I don't have an announcement for you. That will have to come from Treasury. But we have sanctions in place. And sanctions don't mean anything unless, you're going to do something about them. So I think that's been clear. I think that the Treasury will follow up with any specific announcements. Suffice it to say, we're serious about our sanctions. Then a cost needs to be imposed on Iran for what they are doing. Otherwise, if they get away with this, guys, if they get away with pulling this thing off without paying a price for it and backing down, you're going to see multiple places around the world where other countries are going to be tempted to do the same. This is unacceptable. Again, I want to reiterate the point. We keep arguing back and forth about the war and the shooting and this and that or the other. These guys have shut down an international waterway. The Straits of Hormuz do not belong to Iran. They don't have a right to shut it down and blow up ships and lay mines. And that's what they've done. That needs to be addressed. Otherwise, and it cannot be normalized. Under no circumstances can we live in a world where we accept, okay, this is normal. You have to coordinate with Iran. You have to pay them a toll in order to go through the Straits of Hormuz. Not only is that unacceptable in the Straits, you're creating a precedent that could be repeated in multiple other places around the world. The whole world should join us in this condemnation. And the whole world should join us in doing something about it, by the way. It shouldn't just be us. We're hoping to get countries. We're going to give them a chance to do something about it at the United Nations. All right, my last question. Right there in the white.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Right next.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on, stop this up. Go ahead. Okay, I'll do two more, then I gotta go. Yeah, go ahead. Iran has shown what?
Sophia with Politico.
Okay.
Iran has shown that it's been able to withstand a lot of pressure, and yesterday President Trump has said that they may run out of oil storage in 2 weeks. Do you believe that that will be the thing that gets them to the table to give up their nuclear ambitions, and if not, what will be that thing?
Well, look, they're suffering devastating damage to their economy. You're right, but it's not that they're able to withstand pressure, it's that they don't care that their people are suffering. You understand, right? There's a difference between we can withstand pressure and we actually don't care. Now, I think there are people in their system that care more than others. You know, some of the elected people that you see, some of the people you see on television with the suits on, you know, those guys care because they know at the end of the day they have to live in the reality. And then you have another element of their government, the clerics, the IRGC types, who probably are more immune to that and care less. They're more interested in regime survival at all costs. But ultimately, the pressure points are what they are.
Are they less divided now than they were before? Because the administration has said that the Iranian regime is divided, making it very challenging.
Well, it's been challenging to deal with them diplomatically because, for example, an offer will be made and then it takes 5 or 6 days to get a response because you have to get it through the whole system. They have to find the supreme leader wherever he hides. They got to get him to sign off, and that's their system. Their system has always been multi-layered in this way. It's obviously become more complex because of the damage they suffered during the war. But look, suffice it to say, Iran has to pay a price. They're not going to change their position out of the kindness of their heart. There has to be a pressure point on them that causes them to realize they cannot continue to close the straits, or they face crushing economic consequences, but also, you know, global diplomatic isolation, which they have proven in the past to be susceptible to. But you're right, they have a high pain threshold, but they don't have an unlimited pain threshold. Nobody does. All right, this has to be the last question.
Many people want to know, what is your DJ name?
My DJ name?
Your DJ name.
You're not ready for my DJ name.
On the war, if the fighting were to resume, because you've said that Operation Epic Fury is over, the president also said that the U.S. would bomb them off the face of the earth if they tried to go after U.S. ships. So if the fighting resumes, are you saying that it would resume under Project Freedom? And I ask, as it relates to the War Powers Act.
Yeah, look, the Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, you know, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal. He would prefer to sit down, work out a memorandum of understanding for future negotiations that touches on all the key topics that have to be addressed, a full opening of the strait so the world can get back to normal. And he preferred that be negotiated through the route that Steve and Jared have been working and that all of us have been supporting. That's the route he prefers. That is so far not the route that Iran has chosen. And so the result has been that the United States has to do something about the fact that we're the only nation on earth that can do anything to open up a lane within the Straits of Hormuz to get product and to rescue these people that are trapped in there. And that's what we're undergoing now. What that may lead to in the future is speculative. I'm not going to speculate about what it would take or what it would do. But look, the message to Iran, these guys are facing, they are facing real catastrophic destruction to their economy, generational destruction to their economy, generational destruction to the wealth of their country, imposed on themselves by the actions that they're taking. They should check themselves before they wreck themselves in the direction that they're going.
Does the White House believe that these votes coming up in Congress are a moot point then?
Look, guys, I love talking about this topic. It's about the War Powers Act.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. I was hoping somebody would ask. All right, hold on. No, boy, you don't let me answer. I got to answer the question. Okay, and I love it. I'll tell you why I love it. Because even as a senator, I said something. The War Powers Act is unconstitutional, 100%. Now, this is not the position of me, not the position of the President of the United States now. This is the position of every single president that has occupied this position since the day that law passed. It's completely unconstitutional. Now, we comply with it in terms of, like, notification because we want to preserve good relations with Congress, right? And we do that. But even as a senator, I would say that the War Powers Act is 100% unconstitutional. And look, I know some of you, whatever you want to say, but this is not this president's position. That has been the position of every single presidential administration since the day that law passes. An infringement on the president's constitutional powers. We don't acknowledge the law as constitutional. Nonetheless, we comply with elements of it for purposes of maintaining good relations with Congress, and we want them to be involved, and we want them to be informed. I have gone on Capitol Hill, I don't know, 4 times this year for all senators and all House members and Intel Committee and Gang of 8. We want them to be involved in this, but I want to be clear on the point of the War Powers Act. It's unconstitutional, and every president and every administration has taken that position. All right, guys, I gave you 50 minutes. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Oh, they were so not ready for that. Oh my gosh. If they had a cut to like the press area where they're going to go right now, these people are going to need a drink or a cigarette, because what they just saw was a glimpse into the future. They looked at a crystal ball and go, how are any Democrats going to stand up for this? I don't know, because I guess he was on close to 45 or 50 minutes. Did anybody see him have a note anywhere? Did he pick up, other than trying to figure out who the hell these people, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, but other than that, he didn't pick up a note. He just went pow, pow, and pow. He just smacked them back and forth. Every single question, sometimes he had to repeat it 20 times because they don't listen. They don't want to listen. This is going to be awesome. If I'm Karoline Leavitt, I'm going to have to do breastfeeding in the back room and get back on stage, because she might not have a job in a couple weeks. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine after watching that? You got J.D. Vance, you got Stephen Miller, yeah, you got a bunch of people who just saw that and go, I need some of that. I want to be up there, especially if you have presidential aspirations. If you think you're going to be a president or want to run for president, I want that FaceTime. I just want to be out there. If I'm Marco, I'm like, am I doing it next week? Let me know. Just let me know. Wow. I mean, I felt like I just did a workout. He just ran through these people. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I'm like, oh, did he just say that? Oh my goodness. Oh, it was amazing. There's nothing that the press can do right now. They've got to sit back and go, okay, how do we destroy this press conference? Because it was arguably one of the best press conferences I've seen in quite some time. We put them all out there, and a lot of people have gotten bored with President Trump because he repeats the same message over and over and over. Excuse me. And I've told you why. He's got to get his message across. But they weren't ready for this. They may have thought that they could do similar to how they handled Karoline. Didn't work. So now what are they going to do? Also, just so you guys know, he dropped some news that I didn't know, maybe you guys didn't know, and I thought it was very interesting. When he talked about Cuba, never heard this before. Cuba was getting oil for free, and then they were selling the oil and keeping the money and not using it for the people. Nope, never heard any of the commies talking about that. Let's see what else he said. I didn't know the extent of the international waters that Iran was violating. They don't talk about that. Then the big one that I don't know, he was going so fast if he realized he said it. You guys can rewind. He actually said it. He said President Trump notified Congress that Operation Epic Fury was over. I went, wait a second. When did he do that? How come not a single Democrat acknowledged it? And I don't know if the people in the room got it. Maybe they taped it, but he said President Trump notified Congress that it was over. My question would have been, when? Because now he gets a whole another 60 or 90 days. And on top of that, the war resolution is bullcrap. I'm not going to deal with it. Democrats have no answer. That's why every single day, all they're doing is posting the same crap. Oh, gas prices are too high. Trump's war and racism. They got nothing. I was watching a giant tsunami come in over the Democrats right now and the media. Nothing. They didn't lay a glove on him. They don't know how to respond to somebody who just bam, 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 bam. They've taken their time figuring out how they're going to beat up on Karoline. They've taken their time trying to trap Trump. Doesn't work. And now they're finding out, here comes a new guy, Marco. Let's go ahead and rip him to shreds. Didn't work. In fact, please leave. Just go away. But I don't know who's next. I can't wait. Now it's like potluck press conferences. We get to see them all. Just keep coming. And I mean, if next week they do Stephen Miller, I mean, we're going to have to sell tickets. I mean, because it's going to be absolutely crazy. But in any event, all right. So it is already 2 hours in. What I'm going to do, excuse me, I'm going to hold Pete Hegseth's press conference till tonight. You say tonight, when I say tonight, I'm talking about probably 6:30-ish, because J.D. Vance's speech at 4 o'clock got pushed to 6 o'clock. Not sure why. So we're definitely going to have a night show. Don't know what time it's going to be, but we're going to run through this and get through it quickly. So that being said, since I'm going to move Pete Hegseth's presser back, and we're going to cover JD Vance, I got something special to tell you about what's happening tomorrow. I really hope you guys enjoy this, but before that, let me tell you, well, first, let's check in with SV. I saw you rocking out the trolls.
Hey, what a difference from KJP and Circle Back Peppermint Patty, huh?
Wow.
I mean, it's night and freaking day, huh?
Wow, absolutely. Wow. It's just, I would, most of the time when we do the press conferences, I sit there like this. I'm like, oh, she's going to have to just take this crap. They asked it. And today I was sitting there going, oh my gosh. Oh my. I don't have any popcorn here. I got to get some popcorn. And not one note. Just ran through. Oh, it was incredible.
Well, he realizes what a good job that Karoline does, because when he's like, they are all yelling, he goes, this is crazy. I need a laser pointer. I mean, so he knows it's pretty chaotic, but yeah, he handled it like a champ. I mean, I sent you that X post showing that he was being watched by all the networks.
Yeah.
All of them. They did not cut away.
No, they had to stay on today, because now they see a potential nemesis in the future. And so now they're going to have to figure out, what do we do about it? Can you imagine him going up against Kamala in a debate? Oh my God.
Oh man. I hope so. I hope she runs. Oh my God. That would be awesome. Her and AOC, it's a bloodbath.
I mean, I can tell you, what's his name? Ron DeSantis from down here, Marco Rubio. Man, we got some great Florida politicians. I just love the representation. And it was funny as I was watching it, and I'm realizing that, a couple of things that he broke, the selling of the oil to Cuba, the international waters thing. Nobody's been talking about that. I mean, here it is, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, and nobody said a word about that. I didn't know that Cuba was selling off the oil. There's got to have been reporters in the room who knew that, and they just keep the information from the people. That's huge.
Well, I'm sure the libs are going to take that story and massage it to say, oh, we're not helping them. They're starving. We need to go over there and help the communists, like typical craziness that they do. So, once Iran is done, it's either going back to Epstein files, which, that's always their failback, or they're going to start with Cuba.
That works so well. well.
So successful. All right. So what time you're going to go live when now for the folks who are watching?
I don't know. I can figure out what time I got to get out of here. I'm going to go to commercial here, and then I got an interview to show people. So give me a second to figure out what it's going to be.
Okay.
Let me tell you guys know that I work with Chapter both personally and here as a part of the show. Medicare can be well, maybe you don't know. Medicare can be confusing. As someone who turned 65 last year, I can confirm this. Keeping track of enrollment periods, understanding all your options, and making sure you're on the right plan takes a lot of time and energy. And between Medicare scams, corrupt agents, and bloated insurance companies, it's easy to make mistakes that can cost you thousands. That's why I'm happy I went with Chapter personally as well. They're actually honest and the only Medicare advisor that looks at every plan nationwide nationwide, helping people save an average of $1,100 per year. People are relieved when they talk to Chapter. These guys won't push you to buy any plan you don't want, and their support is, let me say the word, completely free. So if you're turning 65 soon or are 65 and have questions about your Medicare coverage, call them at 475-328-3545 to get the most out of Medicare. Most people wish they just call sooner. You can also go to the website at askchapter.org/Barry if you'd like to set up a one-on-one free 20-minute consultation. They'll walk you through the entire thing. All right, so I'm going to take a break. When I come break, I've got an interview talking about something that's happening tomorrow that I think you guys will have a big interest in.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Now I've got a story for you. It perfectly captures everything that's broken about the power grabs in Washington, D.C. A man whose identity has remained confidential, connected to a covert operation that targeted Nicolas Maduro, is now facing decades in prison. Not for participating in the operation, not for dragging him out and getting him back to the United States, but for allegedly placing a bet and making $400,000 tied to the operation to get Nicolas Maduro.
A story just came out before the show came on about one of the guys they sent in to grab Maduro out of Venezuela actually bet on that and made $400,000, and the DOJ has now arrested him. One of the guys that went into Venezuela to do that operation back in December.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to talk about that is because here you have an example of the DOJ saying, you know, this is not fair. We're going to go and we're going to throw the book at this guy, right? Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying what he did is right. However, every single day in Congress, you have multiple members of Congress that are engaging in insider trading. We had an actual ban on this that we pressured leadership to bring to the floor, and we're going to get a vote on it. But Hakeem Jeffries, went and told the Democrats not to support this ban, and we were receiving own pressure from our own leadership on pushing this forward. And yet you have a member who went on this raid, which, by the way, our military members don't get paid a lot. But the member that goes on this raid places a bet, and yet he's facing, I think, up to 50 or 60 years in prison. So there is no double standard of justice, or there is no fair justice in this country if you have members of Congress getting away with it, and this guy doing it every day. So on an unpopular take, I'm going to be asking for him to be pardoned. I'm going to ask that he they disgorge his profits, and that he basically go back to the military, because at the end of the day, again, we have proof of this happening every day. Nancy Pelosi makes 17,000% returns on her stock investments. Yeah, she's not going to jail.
I totally
Democrats
agree.
and Republicans, 600%, not in jail.
And that list, when they show that list of the most corrupt, everybody is making a fortune. That's a multicolored list.
A Democrat-led council is throwing the book at him. Reportedly, they want to put him in jail for 50 to 60 years. But here's where it gets really interesting and frankly infuriating. Because while this man is being prosecuted aggressively, Members of Congress continue to trade stocks with private access to information the public simply doesn't have. And when lawmakers actually tried to stop it, when a bill was pushed forward to ban congressional stock trading, it was blocked. You see, these people will always do what's in their best interest, but if you try to get into that club, you know the club George Carlin talked about, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Specifically, House Democrat leadership led by Hakeem Jeffries pressured members not to support the ban to stop insider trading. They want to throw this soldier in jail for profiting on what they considered insider information, but they don't want to block it for themselves. So let's just lay this out clearly. One man makes money tied to a high-risk military mission, and now he faces decades in prison. Meanwhile, elected officials, your elected officials, routinely beat the stock market, sometimes by staggering margins, and nothing ever happens. No charges, no investigations, no consequences. Tell me, is that real justice? Of course it's not. It's a huge double standard, and they get away with it all the time. And it's on the left and the right. This is not a partisan issue. They all do it. So in today's interview, we're going to break it all down, the raid, the arrest, the trading bill that never made it through, and what this says about accountability in America. So today I've got an interview with an expert in trading, and we're going to break all this all down. The raid, the arrest, the trading bill that never made it through, and what this says about accountability in America, or more specifically, in our government. To talk about all of this, and joining me now is Ross Gibbons, who's been following this story very closely. Ross knows the world like nobody else. All the stuff about insider trading he can talk about. He knows exactly how the members of Congress, like Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, who suddenly is broke, and Tim Walz are profiting off of the backs of hard-working patriots. Ross is a 20-year veteran of the stock market. He has worked as a broker, a fund manager, and vice president of investment management for J.P. Morgan Chase. He is the leading authority on insider trading. And just before we chat, I want to say, when I first heard Ross explain exactly how this is happening and how it's actually legal, it made me want to vomit over and over and over again. I want you to know as well all these different secrets. So I've asked Ross to come personally to teach you guys completely for free how all of this works, because we just can't get into it all here. He's putting on a live event this Wednesday, May 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's completely free, won't cost you a dime, where you can learn the little secrets that many people, just like Nancy and all the other ones, are using to profit off the backs of hardworking, tax-paying Americans. I've got the link in the description below so you can sign up, or you can scan the QR code. You don't want to miss this. And again, it's free. In case I didn't make that clear, it's absolutely free for the Fanfare family. You can also visit insidertradeswithbarry.com to reserve your spot. But before we talk about all that, Ross, you're on the front lines of all this corruption. Tell me exactly what's going on. How are these people, especially in our government, our congressional people, our senators, how are they getting away with this? I mean, us regular Americans and other ones like this guy who got accused of some stuff are facing decades in prison. Well, Ilhan Omar can fudge. That's a whole different story. How did she show 30 million on a balance sheet and then come back and now I don't have any money and nobody's asking any questions? So I just want to toss it to you. Tell me how they just walk free from all this.
Well, the big secret is they're the ones writing the laws, Barry. And when you write the laws, you kind of set up some loopholes for yourself. And this has been a theme we've seen from Congress for decades. I mean, even if we go back to Obamacare, they specifically wrote in that they are outside of this system. It doesn't apply to them. So it's really no surprise that insider trading, even they love to hem and haw and say, look what these Republicans are doing, or look what these Democrats are doing. They're all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And, Pelosi has been the biggest test case of this, because everyone from the President of the United States to Elon Musk to members of Congress and all of your viewers know she made hundreds of millions of dollars insider trading. I can give you dozens of examples of her taking advantage of things she knew. She never got so much as a fine. And so that really set the bar for Congress going, well, here's, the Speaker of the House, one of the most publicized or public figures in Washington for a decade. Nothing ever happened to her. Why should I not do the exact same thing? And they've been doing this for years. They'll continue to do it years going forward. And all this fluff over insider trading bans is never going to get passed.
It's funny. There seems like there's two things that they 100% agree on. They can fight over everything else, but if it ever comes up where they're getting a raise, it's always voted in 100-0. Always. There's no exceptions. All hugs and everything. Oh, we gave ourselves a raise. And the fact that they're doing this insider trading, nobody ever talks about it. Even it seems like the news people stay away from it. I wonder how much they're involved. So tell me more about how the average working patriot, the average working American, the average retired American can do these exact same type of trades that the congressional and senators are doing, and how you'll be teaching those strategies on Wednesday.
Well, that's the big silver lining to all this. And people ask me all the time, Ross, does this make your blood boil? I'm like, well, it used to until I started buying the same stocks they're buying. And I promise you make 20, 30 grand right alongside them, it's not going to bother you either. And that's the big thing I don't think most people know. We all know they're doing this, but what the average American doesn't realize that all these trades are public information. They are required, thanks to the Stock Act, which passed back in 2012, to report their trades. And this is another of Congress's usual tricks. They passed this Stock Act. They spun it as something's going to end insider trading. It didn't ban it whatsoever. It just put requirements for them to disclose those trades. And there is an online database, several of them, that are free to access where you can see exactly what they're buying. And so what I show people how to do, and what we've been doing with our members for almost a decade now, is just looking for these really obvious opportunities where several people are piling into this obscure stock all at once out of nowhere and following along. And, there's tricks to it, which is what I'm going to show on Wednesday. It's nothing complicated. It's really just common sense, but you want to look for what we call outlier investments, right? So if somebody's buying NVIDIA or Google or Apple, we all own that in our retirement account or a mutual fund, right? But, when you've got this senator on the, say on some defense military or defense contracting subcommittee, right, that awards these big DoD contracts, who rarely buy stocks, and suddenly they go in really heavy on some little obscure military defense contracting stock, that's when you want to follow along. And, this extends even past politicians. Like, I don't think people realize you can see when CEOs and CFOs and public company board members are buying. Like, we got into a little pharmaceutical stock, and this thing was tiny. It's like 40 cents a share. And they're in the middle of these drug trials. It's traditionally a pretty speculative stock, but right before the drug trials, the results are scheduled to be released. 11 people at this company bought the stock, Barry. The CEO's getting in, the CFO, the chief medical officer, the guy running the drug trials puts half his annual salary into it. So it was really obvious. And so we recommended this to our members. We bought in, and it went up like 300+% in a couple of months. So, listen, we're talking about the stock market. There's always risk involved. I don't want to dumb that down or play that down any. But, this puts you in front of some of these huge opportunities. And it's all free. It's all available. So we could have a 2-hour show now, and I'll show it all to you. But I think the easiest thing to do is just we do these training events every quarter. So we have one coming up this Wednesday at 3. It's online. Anybody can attend, and I'll show you all the secrets and how this works.
You see, one of the things I think a lot of people who aren't in the game the way you are and the way these governmental people and CEOs aren't, the idea of insider trading is that it's illegal. And I think the ignorance of this is what you're doing and what I've done and other people I know have done. Any regular American, it's okay to trade on this information. Can you explain just really quickly what's the difference between illegal insider trading and actually following what these guys are doing?
Yeah, of course. So illegal insider trading means you are using information, private, non-public information, so stuff you'd learn as a CEO of the company or a member of Congress about to pass legislation that's going to push these stocks up, and using it to profit for yourself. Now, what they're doing, a lot of them is, in fact, very much illegal. The tough thing is, how do you prove it? There has to be a smoking gun. There has to be some text chain, or they have to like text someone, thanks for letting me know about this. I'll buy this stock. It has to be so cut and dry. And it's very, very difficult to prove a wink or a nudge or a nod, or you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why they never get prosecuted for it. There's one guy they even found, they did a massive investigation, found him guilty of, in fact, insider trading as Congress. And the ethics committee, they ruled his punishment would be he has to sell the stock. You shouldn't buy that anymore. Like, it's already tripled, you know? So that's insider trading. It is illegal, but it's very, very hard to prove. Even Martha Stewart, who is like, who most people think of, did not go to jail for insider trading, Barry.
Right.
She was found innocent. She went for perjury. Now, what we're doing is following public information. We are following the publicly disclosed trades of congressmen, of representatives, of CEOs and CFOs. That is 100% above board. In fact, all the information we're pulling comes from federal public websites. So it is far, far above anything. It is beyond legal. In fact, I consider it to be ethical, considering you and I are paying these people's salaries. And I think the least they could do is hand us a stock tip here and there so that we can follow the same investments they are. So there is nothing illegal about this. It is just following public information.
You know, it's funny because as you go through some of this stuff, I understand there's a 30 or 45 day delay before they have to make it public. Why isn't this information more readily available to the public? Why isn't it instantaneous? How come the average American can't really log on and instantly see what Nancy Pelosi or somebody else is doing?
Well, tell me how many government programs run smoothly, efficiently, and as you'd like them to, right? And that pretty much gets you your answer. You're right. Congress has as much as 45 days to disclose this. They don't have to wait 45, but they give them room. They wrote the law. Shocker. Some come immediately. Now, the corporate executives, though, the CEOs and these guys are far better than the politicians. They only get 2 days. So if they buy Tuesday, they are required by law to report that by Thursday. And most of them do it the same day. So we go over this in a training event, but there's this little SEC rule that essentially is their protection from insider trading. As long as they file this one form inside of 48 hours, they're essentially immune from being prosecuted. So they do it immediately, right? They buy the stock, have their lawyer send this in. It gets uploaded to the Securities and Exchange Commission website. It's available to all of us instantly. And so we show people how to find these, how to filter them, and how to look for just those, 3, 4, 5 no-brainer opportunities that tend to appear every month or so and follow along. So it is available to everyone, but it's just not easy to find. It's not easy to do. So that's, again, why we do these training events, to empower people to use what I think is one of the best edges you can possibly have as an investor.
Do you discuss anything in the webinar on how to watch to understand when to get out as well? Because once people, I would assume, once people see the information that you see and it's readily available to other traders, big traders, then of course there's a lot of people jumping in, and the volatility of the stock. Is there a signal or some sort of stopgap that you teach to say, listen, if it hits this or does this, get out?
Absolutely. Yeah. Risk management is key in any investment. So we use what's known as a stop loss order. So whether you use Schwab or Robinhood or whoever, you can put what's known as a sell stop order. So say you buy a stock at $10, you can set an order to say, you know what, if it falls to $9, get me out immediately. Don't call me, just sell it. And what that does is allow you to cap your risk. And it's really, really important because there's no investment strategy you're going to win 100% of the time. It's never been done. You're not going to be the first. And so, if when you're wrong, and this is really the key to any strategy, but when you're wrong, if you're losing 7 or 8 or 10 or 12%, And when you're right, you're making 40 or 50 or 100+%, you're going to do very well over the long term. Now, as you mentioned, yes, sometimes information comes out, stock makes an initial move. Most of these stocks, we're not day trading. Like we're getting in front of a stock where some piece of news is likely to come out, and we're looking to hold these for a month, 2 months, 3 months. We've been in some for over a year because, you know, take NVIDIA, for example, right? This is one of Pelosi's big trades. The Senate passed the CHIPS Act a couple of years ago. It gave like $52 billion in subsidies to these semiconductor companies. And the goal was, hey, let's get all the semiconductor manufacturing here in the U.S. Let's not be held prisoner by China, which I fully support. Should they have used your and my tax dollars to do it? Probably not, but whatever. So Pelosi is an author on this thing. She's championing the bill. She's doing a road show. She's promoting it with Biden. She knows it's going to pass. And so she puts millions of dollars into NVIDIA call options, which is like a leveraged, super heavy investment. And it pays, I mean, she made millions of bucks on it. But when you're giving, you know, when you're bringing all these plants into the U.S., you're giving them billions of dollars. Like, it's not just news that's going to move for a day. That turned into a 400,000 or 500,000% move in that stock over the next couple of years. And so, you know, these people, and we'll get into this, but, you know, especially the corporate guys, they can't buy Tuesday and sell Thursday. These are not pump and dump situations. These are opportunities. They think this stock is going to be worth substantially more 3 months, 6 months, a year to the future. And so we're just using that as kind of a shopping list to identify those with the best upside into the future. So not really an issue, but we cover all of this in the training event. Like I said, we could talk for hours on this. I've been doing this for a decade, but yeah, I encourage people to register for that. I know you usually put the link below the video. Even if you cannot attend live, go ahead and register because we're going to send you all of our research on our most recent insider pick. So we're going to give you one for free. You'll see who's buying. You'll see what's available to you, all of our recommendation. Hopefully you make some money on the thing, but it's really eye-opening to see what's available to you for free as an investor. And we'll send you out the recording as well after the event.
I have a quick question. It might be off topic, but I know you know this. With everything going on with Iran and the turmoil around the world, are there certain niches or verticals that you say these are safer than others based upon the volatility that you're seeing in the market?
Yes, there's things that are just not connected to it. So when you look at the closure to Strait of Hormuz, what's that done to energy prices? There are stocks and sectors much more affected by that. It's like I would never buy an airline stock right now. 30% of their expense is fuel, and that just doubled. It could double again, right? So that's something you want to avoid. If they're all buying a little pharmaceutical company in late stage drug trials, oil's not going to have a big effect on them, right? Okay. So there are things safer. In energy stocks, we've done very, very well in the energy sector because we saw the insiders buying. Look, guys that run oil companies know this stuff. They got boots on the ground on the Strait of Hormuz. They know exactly what's going on. They knew 2 months ago that this was not going to end quickly. This was going to cause a backlog of crude inventories for 6-12 months into the future. Exxon and Shell and BP, they're making record profits. They knew what was going to come. That first little 10% spike the first day was just the tip of the iceberg, right? They know this stuff better than you and I do. And so that's a great example of them getting in, seeing it, and going, well, look, the CEO and a CFO and a board of these companies are putting millions of dollars in. They clearly think this is the start of something big, and it has been, and that's paid off handsomely. So there is some of that, but you really don't have to dive that deep. I mean, you're following people who know both the equity market and their business and their industry better than you could ever dream of. And it's just following people with better information, right?
It's funny. I use a old Wayne Gretzky quote all the time, and I always tell people, skate to where the puck is going was the phrase he said. And everything you're seeing, and I told people, I said when the war first started, I said the next 90 to 120 days, there are going to be some people who are going to make billions because it's all just right there. You know what? Before we go, I'm like, you need to hold an advanced class because I'd like to get a refresher on calls and puts. And you probably you probably don't cover those, but that's a discussion for like the graduated program on calls. Anybody watching, that's a little bit more risky, or actually a lot more risky, a lot of danger, but it can be highly profitable. So I'd love to talk to you sometime about calls and puts because that's like
we do some of that as well. And you'll see politicians do that. I mean, calls, for those who aren't familiar, calls are just stock options. So like you say, it's a bet that a stock's going to be above a certain price in a certain amount of time. So you're kind of getting leverage. You're saying, all right, I'm going to bet $5,000 this stock goes up. If it doesn't, I'm out $5,000.
Right.
If it goes up a little bit, I'm going to double or triple my money. And this is what Pelosi's done heavily over the last 10 years. So, we touch on that a little bit. It's a way to really juice up the returns. But either way, buying the stock, buying the option, if you're following people with inside information that know this, know the business better than you, they know the future better than you, they know what the earnings are going to be before the public, they know what the drug trials are going to be, they know when the big piece of legislation is going to get passed. It's just a massive advantage. And for people out there looking at PE ratios, thinking you're going to outsmart, teams of NBA analysts on Wall Street, I think you got another thing coming, and why would you try to when they're feeding you inside tips? So that's what we do. I hope others will join our training event and see what's available to them. And it's extremely eye-opening.
Well, Ross, I know you got to go. You got a bunch of training to do on your own as well as get ready for these webinars. So I want to thank you for joining us today and getting people pumped up about attending the webinar. And here's the bottom line. It's obvious you've got a system where insiders are winning and everyone else is left playing catch up. But as Ross just laid out, you don't have to stay on the outside looking in. If you want to understand how these trades actually happen and understand deeply how they happen and how you can legally spot and follow them, Ross is breaking it all down in a free live training. So Ross, I am going to tell people how to get there so they understand. It's on the screen right now, insidertradeswithbarry.com. It's this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Ross, thank you very, very much.
My pleasure, Barry. Always great to talk with you.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm checking the time here, 4:30. JD Vance is scheduled to go live at 6 p.m., and I still have Pete Hegseth's interview to go through, so we're going to go ahead and grab that as well. But I'm just still basking in the glow of what went on with Marco Rubio. And also, if you want to join Ross Givens tomorrow for that free event, just to let you know, it's down in the description below, and just click on it. Just register, and even if you can't make it at 3 p.m. tomorrow, you will be able to download the replay, and he's going to send you something as well. I like to talk about prosperity. As you guys know, it pisses some people off. I don't care. You know what the other thing that pisses me off? SP, are you still here? You know what else pisses me off?
Absolutely, I'm here.
I was looking earlier about this one guy that you had to boot, and the guy was talking about free speech, free speech, free speech. I get this stuff in my email as well every time. Well, not every time, but a lot of the time when you boot somebody off, that's what they say to me. And so I decided to take a little moment, and I wanted to do this just so I can show it to you guys as well, because I think this is something we need to discuss with people and let them, there's not enough information that goes on in regards to what exactly is free speech. So I'm going to close. I'm going to close.
It's vacation time.
I'm going to close today with just like it might be more than 2 minutes. But I want everybody here to understand, because it's obviously either people aren't teaching it, people don't know it, other podcasters are lying to you, or there's just some crazy disconnect in what free speech is, because it really doesn't exist. But let's just be clear, it doesn't exist, because that's not what the First Amendment was ever about. Gosh, we've had this conversation.
Frustrating.
So
I know.
I'm gonna,
many times.
I'm gonna come back to you.
Well, wait a minute. We need to put a disclaimer on your show, I think, or something in big letters, so that way they don't wait 20 minutes for me to boot them.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I have it. Wait. I can, I don't, oh yeah. What I can do is probably begin to play this. And then I can put a no, not your mama's free speech zone. That's what we'll call it. This ain't your grandmama's free speech area. That's what that way they
That was awesome. I think that's going to go over very well. It's going to wake up some of people's dogs and cats, but
we'll start every show. Hey, here you go. That way you know where you are. So SP, let me jump to it real quick, because this is pretty good. All right, I want you guys to see this. Where did I go here? Am I in the right window? I'm in the right window. I decided what I was going to do was to ask Grok what exactly is free speech. Here's a question. Is there any entitlement to free speech on private social media platforms or at private businesses and events? And Grok came right back with the answer I knew it would have, just so I could show it to you. No. There is no entitlement to free speech, and I was surprised it put it in bold letters. There is no entitlement to free speech on private social media platforms or at private businesses or at private events. This is the entirety of the First Amendment, in case anybody's never shown it to you. The United States First Amendment states Congress, meaning your government, shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. It restricts government action, federal, state, and local, not private actors. Private individuals, companies, and organizations can generally decide what speech they allow on their property or their platforms, and courts have repeatedly upheld this distinction. Bingo. The government cannot infringe on your right to free speech. Everywhere else, everywhere else, you're fair game.
The last time I looked, this is Barry Cunningham's channel. So
there's a couple layers here. It is YouTube, and then below YouTube, then it's me, and then it's the rest of the Fanfare family. And so we have set rules here that say you can't say certain things, and the mods enforce that. And you can take your free speech and go scream out the window. Okay, as far as I'm concerned.
And the blue sky, folks.
And the blue sky. Oh gosh, yeah, it's crazy. And I mean,
I hope they understand now. If not, we'll just have to do that banner that you have, and maybe
yeah, and even on X, people are like, oh, Elon's taking away free speech. I'm like, he never gave you free speech. There never was free speech. It's a private business, and he can decide. There's people bitching about monetization and everything else. It's like, hey, nobody cares. F your feelings. All right, so I'm gonna run.
Well, we're gonna go on that note.
Yeah, I'm gonna run because I saw the guy giving you a hard time, and I'm like, man, this is absolutely nuts. Why would people keep saying that in the year 2026? I don't know. But anyway,
hey, you know what? I gave a couple people that complained about the ads. I was being a little nicer today. I only gave them 24 hours, and I issued them a refund for the commercials that they had to
watch. Complaining about the ads. I guess you've never turned on a television because guess what? There's a commercial running right now.
They better check themselves before they wreck themselves. Let's go.
I gotta snip that. I gotta snip that. All right, so
that's a great clip. Put that right after the slap.
I'm gonna go through the super chats, and we're gonna have a shortened after party so I can get home, kiss the wife, kiss the dogs, and get ready for JD Vance, and I'll have Pete Hegseth, and I've got some information for the show I had planned this afternoon, but we'll run through that. Okay. So thank you.
I'll see you tonight.
All right, everybody. Let me go ahead and do super chats, and here we go. Had fun today. I voted for Vivek in our Ohio primary and not for Mr. Niedermeyer. He's a what? He's a junkie and a horrible human being. And they're saying he might win. Oh my gosh. Bielka, can't imagine why Obama was against the program. She's talking about the childhood fitness. Wasn't Michelle promoting health? Fake. Exactly. President Trump is the first president in decades who loves our country. Everyone else was just a puppet for outside interests. That's why we were going down. Chiosop, my friend, deep state stealing 2020, worst move for them ever. Exactly. If they had let the chips fall the way they were supposed to, then he'd be out of office. But now you got it. We should spray bacon bits, natural repellent. James, here's a thought. How expensive would be if New York City got nuked? That's something the naysayers should consider. They don't think. They have no idea. None. PJ Cunningham voted today in Ohio. A new all poll workers, small town, still had to state my name, address, and give them my driver's license to swipe and verified my signature. Good. I'm glad they are checking something in Ohio. Luis, thank you. And John, thank you very, very, very much. All right, guys, I am going to like I said, do a shortened after party because I got to run myself and get ready for tonight. JD Vance is going to be speaking, and it may be a how can I say this? I'm not sure what time I may hold it, but we'll see what time he gets on stage. In any event, I shall see you guys later this evening.